The first thing I recognized in the photograph was my robe. It was pale blue, hanging off the desk chair in my hotel room. My suitcase lay open beneath it, one heel tipped sideways on the carpet. There were 2 glasses of red wine on the nightstand and a man sitting on the edge of my bed in an undershirt, his back to the camera. Daniel held his phone between us. "Tell me this isn't your room." "It is." The words came out before I understood what I was admitting. His face changed. "But I've never seen that man. Marissa sent this to me." My sister's message sat beneath the picture. "I'm sorry. I would want someone to tell me." I stared until the screen blurred. Then the brass-framed mirror beside the bed caught my eye. The photographer had kept herself out of the shot except for one reflected arm. Red wool. 3 brass buttons at the cuff. My sister had arrived that morning wearing that coat. 6 hours earlier, Marissa had swept into the Lakeside Grand 43 minutes late and blamed the lake. "The lake?" I asked. It was distracting. She pushed her sunglasses onto her head, even though the lobby windows showed a February sky the color of wet cement. Her red coat was open over a cream sweater dress, and she looked less like someone who had driven 3.5 hours through Michigan than someone arriving late to accept an award. Daniel leaned toward me. "Lake's got a lot to answer for." I bit the inside of my cheek. "Marissa kissed our father first, then Mom, then me. Her perfume was warm and expensive, and for 1 second, with her arms tight around my shoulders, I felt the familiar relief of having her there. "You look tired," she murmured. "You're late. You always say the sweetest things." Dad rescued her suitcase from the revolving door before it made another trip around. Frank Bennett was 68 and treated every object with wheels as a personal challenge. He dragged the suitcase onto the lobby rug, frowned at it, and said, "What did you pack?" "A radiator." "Shoes." "So, a radiator." Mom stood beside the stone fireplace wearing the blue scarf I'd given her for Christmas, and an expression that suggested she had been personally responsible for the hotel's construction. "Isn't this beautiful, Marissa?" Claire found it. That was Mom's way of complimenting me, announcing useful things I had done to somebody else. Marissa turned in a slow circle. The lobby had leather chairs, dark beams, and windows facing the frozen gray edge of Lake Michigan. "It's gorgeous, very murder mystery." "Please don't say murder at our anniversary," Mom said. I said mystery too. Daniel coughed into his fist to hide a laugh. I'd been at the hotel since 9. Check-in officially started at 3, but I had talked our way into 4 early rooms, confirmed the private dining room, delivered welcome bags, found an extension cord for Dad's ancient slide projector, and explained to Mom 3 separate times that the vow renewal was on Sunday morning, not Saturday evening. Mom called it a vow renewal. Dad called it that thing your mother thinks I don't know about. He knew because he had asked me to help write his vows. Mom knew he knew because she had asked me whether his vows were good. I had become the Swiss border of my parents' anniversary. Marissa pulled off one red glove with her teeth. "Okay, where am I?" I handed her a key sleeve. 3rd floor, 318. She looked at it, then at the brass key sleeve in Daniel's hand. "What are you guys?" 412, he said. "A suite?" "It was the only room available when Claire added us," Mom said quickly. "You know how these old hotels are." The hotel had emailed me a choice between a standard king and the suite at the group rate. I had chosen the suite because Daniel and I were paying for our own room, and because I wanted one space that weekend where nobody would ask me where the tape was. Marissa smiled. "Of course it was." "It's not the presidential suite," I said. "There's no cabinet meeting." "I'm kidding, Claire, I know." She tilted her head. "Do you?" That tiny exchange could have become anything. With Marissa, a dropped spoon could become a trial about who had always been allowed to make noise. I picked up her tote bag instead. "Your room has the lake view. So does a parking lot if you stand far enough away." Daniel took the tote from me before I could sling it over my shoulder. "I've got it." Marissa watched him do it. Still in the helpful phase. Adorable. "We're hoping to stretch it through the wedding," he said. The smile stayed on her mouth but left her eyes. My parents didn't notice. Dad was still wrestling the suitcase, and Mom had found a bellman she wanted to tell about the anniversary photograph. It had been taken outside their first apartment in Toledo. Mom wore a white suit and held a grocery store bouquet. Dad had hair that touched his collar, and the hunted look of a man who had just discovered photographs lasted forever. The original was supposed to sit on an easel during Sunday's ceremony. It was also, at that moment, still on Mom's mantle in Columbus. I didn't learn that until 20 minutes later. Mom was in my suite, standing over the welcome bags as if one of them might confess. The suite had a small sitting area, a desk, and a bedroom separated by double doors. My suitcase was open on a folding rack. Daniel's was zipped beside it because he had principles. "I know I packed it," Mom said. Dad lowered himself onto the sofa. "You said you packed it. I wrapped it in a towel. You wrapped the curling iron in a towel. Why would I wrap a curling iron?" Dad looked at Daniel. 40 years. Daniel nodded gravely. "It's inspiring." Mom shot them both a look, then turned to me. "Could the hotel print another one, if you have it on your phone?" "I don't." "I do," Dad said. Everyone looked at him. He pulled out his phone and tapped with one blunt finger. "You sent it to me last year when you thought I forgot our anniversary. You did forget. I remembered before the day was over. You remembered because Claire called you." Dad looked at me. "You call too much." That made Mom laugh despite herself. It made me laugh too because Dad's timing was good even when he was the problem. I found the photograph in his messages and called a print shop 11 minutes away. They could enlarge it if I arrived before 4. "I'll go," Daniel said. "No, help Dad with the projector. It only respects men." "That machine respects no one," Dad said. "I'll come with you," Marissa offered. She was sitting in the desk chair, one boot dangling from her toes. Her red coat lay over the back, bright against my blue robe. I almost said yes. We'd barely spoken in the month before the trip except for texts about room assignments and Mom's dietary opinions. A drive might have helped, or become a fight in a moving vehicle. Before I could decide, Mom said, "Marissa, I need you to help me choose earrings." Marissa closed her eyes. "You brought 4 pairs. I brought options. Then choose one of the options. I need to see them with the dress. You've owned the dress 6 years. My neck has changed." Dad glanced at Daniel. "Don't get old." "I'm 38, Daniel said. "Too late." I took my purse from the desk. "I'll be back in half an hour." Marissa lifted one hand. "Wait. Give me your spare key." "Why? I have your gift basket." "What gift basket?" "The one I made you." I stared at her. She smiled. "See? This is why surprises are wasted on you. You made us a gift basket? Try not to sound so alarmed." She said she had left it in her car because she couldn't carry everything. She would bring it up while I was gone. Daniel had his key, but he was heading downstairs with Dad and the projector. I slipped the spare card from its paper sleeve. Daniel looked at me. It wasn't a warning look, exactly. More like he had noticed a familiar song starting. Marissa noticed him noticing. "What?" she asked. "Nothing." "No, go ahead." I didn't say anything. "You have a very conversational face. Occupational hazard." Daniel designed restaurant kitchens. This did not require a conversational face, but I loved him for refusing to explain the joke. I handed Marissa the card. "Put it on the desk when you're done." She pressed it to her chest. "Your trust means everything to me. Now you're making me regret it." "There she is." She stood and kissed my cheek. "Drive safe, Clary." Only Marissa called me Clary. She'd started when she was 5 and couldn't say Claire Bear properly. No one else was allowed to use it. Not even Daniel. That was the problem with my sister. She could sharpen a moment until it drew blood, then touch one old, tender place and make me ashamed for flinching. The print shop occupied half of a narrow storefront between a tax service and a closed ice cream place. A man named Wes enlarged Dad's photograph while telling me about toner with the solemnity of a surgeon discussing a transplant. My phone buzzed twice on the counter. The first message was from Daniel. "How long?" The second was from Marissa. "Mom wants ivory earrings, but she is wrong." I replied to Daniel. 10 minutes. To Marissa, I wrote, "Let her be wrong. It's her anniversary." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then returned. That's your whole philosophy, isn't it? Before I could ask what she meant, Wes slid the photograph across the counter. My parents looked impossibly young. Dad's arm curved around Mom's waist. Mom's smile was not the tight, careful smile she used now when she wanted everybody to know she was being patient. It was wide and crooked, like she had just gotten away with something. For a moment, I saw them without all the errands that had accumulated around them. "Good picture," Wes said. "Yeah." "You want foam board?" I checked the time. "How long?" 5 minutes. Of course, I got the foam board. By the time I returned, snow had started as loose white specks that melted against the windshield. I carried the mounted photograph through the lobby with both hands. Mom would cry when she saw it. Dad would pretend not to. Marissa would make some comment that sounded inappropriate until everybody laughed. That was how I imagined the evening while I rode the elevator to the 4th floor. The suite door opened before I reached it. Daniel stood there alone. He had changed since I left, though not his clothes. His body looked held in place, shoulders rigid, one hand still wrapped around the doorknob. "Hey," I said, "did Dad defeat the projector? Come inside." I looked past him. "What happened?" "Just come in, Claire." The room looked normal. My suitcase was still open. My robe was still on the chair, but Marissa's red coat was gone. A gift basket sat on the desk, wrapped in cellophane, with crackers, chocolate, and a bottle of wine arranged around a card that said, "For the future Ortizes." My spare key lay beside it. Daniel closed the door. "Did you tell Marissa you were going into town alone?" "I was alone." He nodded once, as if confirming a detail for himself. "What is this?" He unlocked his phone. "Marissa sent me something while you were gone." The photograph filled the screen. My room, my things. A stranger on my bed. Under it, my sister had written, "She told everyone she was going to the print shop. I came up to leave the basket and saw this. I took the picture from the hall because I panicked. Please don't confront her here. Mom and Dad deserve one good weekend." My mouth went dry. Daniel's voice was controlled, which was worse than anger. "Tell me this isn't your room." "It is." He looked away. "But I've never seen that man. Then why is he sitting on your bed?" "I don't know." My eyes moved over the image again, the wine glasses, the robe, the sliver of the open suitcase. Something in the mirror flashed red. I took the phone from Daniel and enlarged the corner. Red wool. 3 brass buttons, the same cuff that had brushed my wrist when I gave Marissa the key. "That's Marissa," I said. Daniel leaned closer. His shoulder touched mine, but the contact felt accidental. "It's an arm. It's her coat. A red coat isn't exactly a fingerprint. Look at the buttons." I enlarged the reflection until the picture broke into grainy squares. The cuff remained clear enough. Red wool, 3 round brass buttons, the middle one hanging at a slight angle because Marissa had caught it on a shopping cart before Christmas. She'd made me sew it back on while we sat at Mom's kitchen table. Daniel took the phone and studied it. She said she took the picture from the hall. She couldn't have. "How do you know?" I went to the doorway and looked toward the mirror. From there, it reflected the far wall and part of the desk. I moved into the room until I could see the spot beside the bed where the man had been sitting. "You have to stand here." Daniel stayed by the door, so she came inside. She used my key. Maybe she came inside after she saw him. She said she took it from the hall. "Claire, I'm not defending her. I'm trying to understand what happened." "So am I." My voice had risen. Daniel's hadn't, which made me feel as if I were the only person losing control. I looked at the bed. The comforter was smooth now, tucked beneath 4 stiff white pillows. There were no wine glasses on the nightstand. The hotel's little leather room service menu was centered beneath the lamp. Where did the glasses go? Daniel followed my gaze. They weren't here when I came back. Was the man? No. Did you see Marissa? No. The basket was here. The key was here. That was it. I picked up the wine bottle from the basket. It was a Michigan Cabernet with a silver fish on the label, still sealed. The cellophane crackled loudly in the room. Did she bring wine glasses with her? I don't know. She'd need a man, 2 glasses, my robe, collar. I put the bottle down too hard. The crackers shifted against the chocolate. Daniel held out my phone. Caller. I did. It rang 5 times before going to voicemail. "Hey, it's me," Marissa's recorded voice said brightly. "You know what to do, but if it's Mom, I'm probably driving." I hung up without leaving a message. Again, Daniel said. "She'll see the call." "She saw a strange man in your room and had time to photograph him, send it to me, and disappear. Call her again." I dialed. Voicemail. Daniel crossed to the window. Snow moved past the glass in thin diagonal lines. Below us, a couple in matching knit hats walked along the lake path, leaning into the wind. "Where were you?" he asked. I stared at his back. "Excuse me." "At the print shop. The whole time." "I went to the print shop, Daniel. Did you stop anywhere?" "No." "Did you meet anyone?" "No." He nodded, still facing the window. The question sat between us, ugly and alive. "You think this could be real?" "I think I got a photograph of a man in your hotel room, from my sister. That doesn't make it less real. It makes it insane. I told you I don't know him. I heard you. That's not the same as believing me." He turned then. "I do believe you. You just asked whether I met anyone. Because I need facts, Claire. I need something that makes sense. I'm giving you facts. You're giving me what you know, and there's a difference." I grabbed my coat from the closet. My hands missed the sleeves twice. Daniel came toward me. "I'm not accusing you. You asked me if I stopped anywhere, because she sent me a photograph that looked like..." "Say it." He stopped. "Say what it looked like." His jaw tightened. "Like you had a man in our room." "Our room," I repeated. "That's what I said. You asked me to tell you it wasn't my room." For about 10 seconds, I didn't know what the hell I was looking at. And now? "Now I think your sister is lying." The certainty in his voice should have relieved me. Instead, I heard the 10 seconds. I pushed my arms into my coat. "We're finding her." "Good. But we're not doing this in front of my parents." Daniel gave a small, disbelieving laugh. "Of course we're not. What is that supposed to mean? It means your mother is worried about earrings, so we'll quietly investigate the fake adultery photo. You know, that isn't what I meant." "I know exactly what you meant." We found Marissa in the bar. She was seated at a small round table near the fireplace with a martini in front of her, and her red coat folded over the empty chair. She was talking to a silver-haired man in a green sweater. He laughed at something she said, touched 2 fingers to the rim of his glass, and walked away just as we approached. Marissa saw our faces and reached for her drink. "Well," she said. That was fast. Daniel pulled out the empty chair, lifted her coat, and set it on the table. "Hey," she snapped, "don't wrinkle it." He pointed at the cuff. "You sent me the picture." Her eyes moved to me. "I told you not to confront her here." "Her?" I said. Marissa looked around the bar. A server was lighting candles on the tables, even though it wasn't 5 yet. A woman near the windows was reading a paperback and eating olives from a tiny dish. "Can we not do this in the middle of the lobby?" "You picked the middle of the lobby." I picked a drink. She stood, gathered her coat, and walked toward a short corridor near the restrooms. We followed her to an alcove containing an unplugged vending machine and a painting of a sailboat in weather no sensible person would sail through. Marissa folded her arms. "I know what you're going to say." "Who is he?" I asked. "I don't know. You photographed a man in my room, but you don't know who he is. That's why I sent it to Daniel. Why didn't you send it to me? Because if you were doing something, you'd lie." Daniel stepped between us just enough to make her look at him. "You said you took it from the hallway." "I did. You're reflected in the mirror." For 1 second, her face went completely still. Then she shrugged. "Fine." I stepped inside. "With a camera ready?" I asked. My phone was in my hand. You happened to walk in at the exact moment a half-dressed stranger was sitting on my bed? He wasn't half-dressed. He had a shirt on, an undershirt. I'm sorry I didn't stop to catalog his outfit. Daniel said, "Where did he go?" How would I know? You were in the room with him. He got up when he saw me. And then he left. Past you? Yes. You didn't ask who he was. I was shocked. Marissa performed shocked by widening her eyes. I had seen her do the same thing when she was 17, and Mom found cigarettes in the pocket of a jacket Marissa insisted belonged to me. You told me you were bringing up a gift basket, I said. I did bring it up. You had my spare key. Yes, Claire, you gave it to me. So you unlocked the door. It was already open. Then why did you need the key? I didn't. You said the door was ajar, Daniel said, in your message. That's the same thing. No, it isn't. Oh my God. She pressed her fingers to her forehead. This is what I get for trying to help. Help who? I asked. Daniel. I laughed once. It didn't sound like me. Marissa looked wounded by it. She was good at that, but she was also capable of being wounded while she hurt you. That was what made fighting with her feel like trying to untangle two necklaces without breaking either chain. I saw a man in your room, she said. Your things were everywhere. There was wine. What was I supposed to think? You were supposed to call me, I panicked. You told Daniel not to confront me. Because of Mom and Dad, there it was. Not concern for me, not concern for him. Preservation of the weekend I had built. Daniel said, You told me to wait until we got home. I didn't want some huge scene. You sent me a picture, implying my fiancé was cheating on me. I didn't imply anything. I showed you what I saw. From inside the room, I said. She looked at me with sudden impatience. Why are you so focused on the mirror? Because you lied. I was 2 steps inside. I said hallway because that was basically where I was. I pictured the angle again. The photographer had been beside the desk chair, close enough to touch my robe. Give me your phone, I said. Her arms tightened. No, I want to see the other pictures. There aren't other pictures. Then show me. You don't get to search my phone. I'm not searching it. Open your photos. No. Daniel held up both hands. Marissa, if you're telling the truth, this is the easiest thing in the world. Her mouth twisted. Right. Because innocent people love being interrogated. Who was the man? I told you, I don't know. Was it Ryan? The name came out before I planned it. Her eyes flicked away. Ryan was the man Marissa had been breaking up with since the previous summer. He sold restaurant equipment, wore too much cologne, and had once spent an entire Thanksgiving explaining cryptocurrency to Dad, who thought Bitcoin was a rewards program. I haven't seen Ryan in weeks, she said. That wasn't what I asked. It wasn't Ryan. Then show me your phone. She stepped closer until I could see the tiny vertical line between her eyebrows, the one that appeared when she was frightened or furious. You really want to do this here? She whispered. At their anniversary? I hated that the question worked. She saw it work. Mom's voice floated from the end of the corridor. There you all are. She approached wearing one ivory earring and one silver one, her hair pinned up on one side. Dad walked behind her carrying the framed photograph against his chest. Mom smiled at Daniel, then me, then Marissa. What's going on? Marissa's expression changed first. Her shoulders dropped. Her eyes shone. Nothing, she said softly. Claire's just upset with me. Mom looked at me, waiting. Daniel waited too. The photograph of my parents leaned against Dad's sweater, their younger faces caught in that wide, crooked happiness. We were talking about the room assignments, I heard myself say. Marissa lowered her eyes. Mom sighed. I knew the suite would become an issue. It's handled, I said. Daniel turned his face away. At dinner, Marissa sat beside Mom in the private room and told a story about Dad accidentally attending the wrong retirement party. Everyone laughed, including Dad, who claimed the free shrimp had justified the mistake. I managed the timing of the appetizers. I fixed the slideshow when the screen went blue. I found Mom's reading glasses in her purse beneath 3 pairs of earrings. Daniel barely spoke. When we finally returned to our suite, the gift basket still sat on the desk. I began straightening the crackers beneath the cellophane because one box was crooked. Daniel watched me for a long moment. "Is this how it's going to be?" he asked. I kept my hands on the ribbon. "How what's going to be?" "Every time your family does something unforgivable, are we going to help them have a nice dinner?" I was trying to get through dinner. Daniel stared at me. "Why?" "Because my parents have been looking forward to this weekend for months." So I didn't want Marissa blowing it up. She already blew it up. I pulled at the ribbon. It had been tied in a neat gold bow, the kind Marissa could make on the first try. I had watched her wrap presents before. She never measured paper and never ran out halfway across a box. I measured twice and still ended up taping scraps over the corners. "Claire, I heard you. What did you think would happen if you told your mother the truth? The salmon would refuse to come out? Don't what? Make fun of me." His face softened for half a second. "I'm not making fun of you. You are. You know how hard I worked on this. That's what makes it worse." I let go of the ribbon. Daniel came closer to the desk but didn't touch me. "You planned the weekend. You paid deposits. You spent all day fixing things that weren't your responsibility. And the minute your sister tried to wreck our engagement, you protected her from making dinner uncomfortable. I protected my parents. Did they ask you to? No, so they didn't even have to. That landed where he meant it to." I turned away and walked into the bedroom. The photograph had ruined the room. I could see the man even though he was gone, sitting on the edge of the bed as if he had left an impression too deep for housekeeping to smooth. Daniel followed me. "You said you believe me," I said. "I do. You believed me after you questioned where I was. I believed you before that. That makes no sense. It does to me. Try me." He rubbed both hands over his face. "I knew the picture was wrong. I knew you wouldn't bring some guy into our hotel room while your entire family was downstairs. But for a minute, I wondered if there was some explanation I didn't know." "Like what?" "I don't know. That's why I asked. You wondered if I was cheating." "For a minute, yes." The room went very quiet. Daniel didn't try to take it back. He was terrible at comforting lies and too good at painful truths. "A minute," I said. "Maybe less." "What am I supposed to do with that?" "Whatever you need to do." I sat on the edge of the bed, then immediately stood again. I couldn't sit where the man had been, even though I knew the room had not changed because of a photograph. Daniel noticed. "She wanted that," he said. "What?" "She wanted you looking at this room like it belongs to somebody else." I folded my arms over my stomach. "Why would she want that? You're asking the wrong person. You've clearly thought about it." "Yes, I have. I had 3 hours. It wasn't 3 hours. It felt like 3. He picked up his phone from the dresser and scrolled through his messages. "Do you remember Christmas, when she asked if you'd told me about the man who trained you at your old job? Ethan?" "Yeah." "What about him?" She said, "Claire never really gets over anyone. She just gets busy." I remembered the conversation. We had been washing wine glasses at Mom's house. Marissa had been tipsy, leaning against the counter while Daniel dried. I'd heard my name from the dining room and asked what they were talking about. Marissa said my tragic taste in men. Daniel kissed the top of my head and told her I was doing better. She was joking, I said. Was she? At the time, yes. Last month, she asked me whether you still worked late on Thursdays. I work late whenever there's a deadline. She said Thursday was Ethan's day in the office. I stared at him. Ethan hasn't worked with me in 6 years. I know that now. You could have asked me. I didn't think it mattered. It was a weird comment from your weird sister. She isn't weird. Fine. Your sister, who took a picture of a stranger on our bed. You know what I mean? No, Claire, I don't. I sat in the desk chair and pressed my palms against my eyes until colors moved behind them. Daniel's voice lowered. There were other things. I dropped my hands. What other things? Little comments. You were nervous about moving. You were having second thoughts about the wedding. You didn't like North Carolina. I've never even been to North Carolina. I said that. And you didn't tell me any of this? Because I didn't believe her. I thought she was anxious about you leaving and saying stupid things. She was laying groundwork. That's what it looks like now. I thought of Marissa asking whether I'd picked a wedding date because I wanted that date or because Daniel did. Marissa rolling her eyes when I mentioned neighborhoods near his new office. Marissa telling Mom that people shouldn't move for love unless they had enough money to move back. I had treated every remark as weather. Annoying, temporary, not worth changing plans over. How long? I asked. How long what? How long has she been talking to you about me since we got engaged? The answer was too fast to be softened. I stood. I'm going to her room. Daniel stepped aside. I'm coming. No. Yes. I need to talk to her alone. She sent the photograph to me, and I'm the one in it without being in it. He looked toward the gift basket. If you come back and tell me she was scared or drunk or worried about your mother's weekend, what? I don't know if I can hear you excuse this. I'm not going to excuse it. You already lied for her. I said the argument was about rooms. That was a lie. I panicked. His eyebrows lifted. Interesting. The word hit like a slap because Marissa had used the same excuse. I grabbed my phone and called her again. This time she declined the call after 2 rings. I texted, "Come to my room now." She answered almost immediately, "Not tonight." I typed, "You sent my fiancé a picture of a strange man in my bed." Her reply came slowly. I did what I thought was right. "I'm sorry you're mad." I showed Daniel. He read it and gave the phone back. "That isn't an apology." "I know. Do you?" I flinched. He turned away. "I'm sorry." "Are you?" "Yes. Because you keep talking to me like I'm stupid. I'm talking to you like you're standing in a burning room arranging gift crackers." The crackers had shifted again. One box pressed diagonally against the cellophane. I told her to come up, and she said no. She'll talk to me tomorrow, after the ceremony. Yes. He laughed without humor. Convenient. What do you want me to do, drag her out of bed? I want us to leave. The suggestion frightened me more than the photograph had. Leaving made the problem real in a way arguing in private did not. Tonight? Yes. My dad's vows are tomorrow. He can read them without you. He doesn't have the final copy. Give it to him. The slideshow. Someone can press a button. The photographer is coming at 10. Mom wants family pictures before the ceremony. Daniel nodded slowly. There it is. What? You're listing tasks like they're chains. They're commitments. To everyone except me. That isn't fair. No, it isn't. He took his overnight bag from beneath the luggage rack and set it on the sofa. What are you doing? Sleeping out here. You don't have to do that. I'm not punishing you. I need some space. The phrase embarrassed me. Space was what people asked for before they learned how little they missed you. I changed in the bathroom, brushed my teeth, and lay awake in the bed while Daniel shifted on the sofa beyond the open doors. Neither of us closed them. That felt important, though I could not have said why. At 1:30, I heard voices in the hall. A door opened, then closed. At 2:12, my phone lit with a message from Mom. Are you awake? I stared at it until the screen darkened. I told myself she was nervous about the ceremony. I told myself I would answer if she called. She didn't. By 7, the snow had stopped. The lake beyond the window was a flat sheet of steel. Daniel was already dressed, sitting at the desk with hotel coffee. There's some in the pot, he said. His voice was civil. I hated civil. I poured a cup and took 1 sip. I'm talking to her after breakfast. Okay, then we'll decide what to do. We? Yes, we. He looked at me over the rim of his cup. Okay. My family occupied 2 pushed-together tables in the dining room. Dad was buttering toast with the concentration of a man repairing drywall. Mom wore a cream blouse beneath a satin robe she had apparently decided counted as breakfast attire. Marissa sat beside her in sunglasses, drinking tomato juice. Mom touched Marissa's wrist when we approached. It was a tiny movement, protective and automatic. "Good morning," Dad said. "Your mother has changed the processional." "I improved it," Mom said. "You added walking. A processional is walking. I was already going to walk. You were going to wander in from the side." Marissa took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were swollen. She looked at me, then Daniel. "Can we talk?" I asked. Mom answered for her. She barely slept. Neither had I, but Mom did not inspect my face. Marissa stirred her tomato juice. "Not before coffee. That isn't coffee. It has vitamins." Dad slid the empty chair out with his foot. "Sit down, Claire. You need to eat before you start directing traffic. I'm not hungry." Mom lowered her voice. "Please don't start this now." My skin went cold. "Start what?" She glanced at Daniel. Marissa said, "Mom, what did she tell you?" I asked. Mom placed her napkin beside her plate. "Enough." "When?" "Claire, lower your voice. When did she tell you?" Dad stopped buttering his toast. Mom looked toward the other tables, checking whether strangers were watching our family become itself. "She called us last night," Dad said. "What time?" He rubbed his thumb over the handle of his knife. "Late." "2?" I asked. Mom's expression answered before she did. Marissa reached for her sunglasses again. I looked from one parent to the other. "You know she sent Daniel a fake photograph." "We know there's been an incident," Mom said. "An incident. She was upset. She made a mistake. She hasn't admitted it's fake. This isn't the place." I heard Daniel set down his coffee behind me. Mom reached for my hand, but I moved it off the table. She tried to make Daniel think I was cheating on him. "And she is sorry." Marissa stared into her glass. "She hasn't said that to me." "She will," Mom said, "after the ceremony." The dining room seemed to tilt, every spoon and cup sliding toward that sentence. "You knew," I said. "You both knew, and you still expected me to come down here and run your vow renewal." Mom's mouth tightened. "We expected everyone to remember why we came." "Why we came," I repeated. "For your father and me," Mom said, "for 40 years of marriage." Daniel stood so close behind me I could feel the heat of him, but he didn't speak. I wished he would. I also wished he would vanish so I wouldn't have to watch my family explain me to him. Marissa pushed her tomato juice away. "I told them because I was freaking out." "You told them what? What happened?" "What did happen?" Her gaze moved past me to the dining room windows. Outside, a hotel employee shoveled a narrow path through the snow, each scrape of metal against pavement faintly audible through the glass. "I saw someone in your room." "No, you arranged for someone to be in my room. You don't know that. I know you lied about where you were standing. I know you used my key. I know the glasses disappeared before Daniel got back." Dad looked at Marissa. "What glasses?" "Frank," Mom warned. "What?" I'm asking. "There were 2 wine glasses in the picture," I said. "They weren't in the room when I returned." Marissa shrugged. "Maybe he took them." "The strange man stole 2 hotel glasses? I don't know what he did. I don't know him." "You had time to photograph him but not call security?" Daniel asked. Mom's face tightened. "Let's not turn this into an interrogation." Daniel gave her a long look. "What would you call it?" "A family conversation. It stopped being just a family conversation when she sent me the picture." Marissa sat straighter. "I sent it to you privately." "You mean secretly?" "I was trying not to humiliate Claire." I laughed. The sound turned heads at the next table. Mom lowered her voice further. "People are looking." "Then let them." "Claire." "What? Are they going to discover families argue in hotels?" Dad put down his knife. "Let's take this upstairs." "You have pictures at 10, Mom said. I don't care about pictures." Mom looked at me as if I had slapped her. The photographer had been her main concern for weeks. She wanted a picture by the fireplace, one by the lake if the weather cooperated, one of the four of us in which no one's eyes were closed, and one of her and Dad recreating the pose from the framed photograph. I had made a list. It was in my room, clipped to the folder containing the ceremony notes. Marissa rubbed her forehead. "Can I say something without everybody jumping on me?" "No," Daniel said. I touched his arm. "Let her." He stepped back. Marissa looked at me. "You've been acting strange for months. What does that have to do with a man in my hotel room? You're moving. You're getting married. You keep saying you're happy, but every time anyone asks a question, you bite their head off." "Anyone?" "Me." "That isn't anyone." Her mouth tightened. "I thought maybe there was something you weren't telling us," she said. "Something you weren't telling Daniel." "So you created it for me?" "I did not create anything. Show me your phone." Mom sighed. "Claire, she doesn't have to hand over her private property." I turned to her. "If I had sent Marissa's fiancé that photograph, would you be talking to me about privacy?" "That's hypothetical." "No, it's not. You know exactly what you would do." Dad's eyes lowered to his plate. He knew too. I could see the alternate version clearly. Me being ordered to sit down, me handing over the phone, Dad driving me home if I resisted. Mom spending the next 6 months telling relatives that she loved both her daughters, but could not understand where I had learned such cruelty. Marissa reached for Mom's coffee and took a sip without asking. Mom let her. "It was a loyalty test," Marissa said. The sentence hung there. Mom closed her eyes. Dad whispered, "Oh, for God's sake." "A what?" I asked. Marissa's cheeks had gone blotchy. Not intentionally. How do you unintentionally test someone's loyalty? I mean, after I saw him, I wanted to know what Daniel would do. Daniel's laugh was quiet. I asked Claire what happened. Exactly. What was I supposed to do? No, it wasn't true. You sent me a photograph. If you know her, a photograph shouldn't matter. He stared at her. That might be the stupidest thing you've said yet. Don't call my daughter stupid, Dad said automatically. Daniel turned to him. Your daughter tried to end my engagement. I didn't try to end anything, Marissa said. If one picture could end it, that's not my fault. I felt Daniel's attention shift to me. He didn't need to say, "Are you hearing this?" I was hearing it. I was hearing every version Marissa offered without surrendering the first one. She had seen a stranger. She had panicked. She had protected Daniel. She had protected me from humiliation. She had tested him. Every excuse required the others to be untrue, but my parents sat there as if enough explanations could be stacked into innocence. Mom reached for me again. She was scared. Of what? You leaving? Marissa looked sharply at her. Mom. No, I'm saying it because somebody has to. This move has been difficult for all of us. We haven't moved. You're planning to. That isn't something I'm doing to you. I didn't say it was. You didn't have to. Dad exhaled. Nobody's asking you not to go. Marissa looked at him. The expression was quick, but I caught it. Maybe nobody had said the words to my face. That was different from nobody asking. I pulled out the empty chair and sat because my legs had started shaking. Mom relaxed slightly, mistaking it for surrender. What did Marissa tell you at 2 a.m? I asked. Mom's fingers tightened around her cup. She said she had made a terrible mistake. Marissa stared at the table. She admitted the picture was staged? She said things had gotten out of hand. That isn't an answer. She was crying, Claire. So? Mom recoiled. The word shocked me too. Marissa's tears had always been treated like a fire alarm. They ended arguments, rearranged rooms, changed who was guilty. If she cried because I was angry, my anger became the emergency. She was devastated, Mom said. What did you think I was? You didn't answer my text. You asked if I was awake. You knew what happened, and that was all you sent. I didn't know what state you and Daniel were in. You could have walked upstairs. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. You walked 3 floors to get ice because Marissa wanted tomato juice. That is not the same thing. No, It isn't. Dad leaned toward me. We thought the best thing was to let everyone sleep, get through this morning, and deal with it afterward. You thought I could stand up at your ceremony beside Daniel and pretend my sister hadn't tried to make him think I cheated. It's 20 minutes, Mom said. We are asking for 20 minutes. You're asking me to do the slideshow, cue the music, manage the photographer, hold your flowers, and smile for pictures. You offered to do those things before this. The ceremony didn't cause this, Dad said. No, your other daughter did. Marissa shoved back from the table. You always do that. Do what? Say your other daughter like I'm some stray they picked up to hurt you. I'm trying to remind them they have two. Her face folded. For one dangerous second, I wanted to take it back. Not because it was untrue, but because I knew where that expression led. Mom would comfort her. Dad would become angry on her behalf. I would spend the next hour proving I had not intended exactly what I had said. I stood instead. I'm leaving. Mom blinked. Leaving breakfast? The hotel? Dad pushed his chair back. Claire, hold on. The ceremony notes are in my room. I'll bring them down. You can't leave, Mom said. I looked at her. She heard herself then, or maybe she heard the command in it. Her voice softened. I don't want you to. I don't want to either. That was the truth, and it nearly broke me. I wanted to watch Dad read the vows we had worked on. I wanted Mom to cry at the enlarged photograph. I wanted the four of us in front of the fireplace, everybody looking in the same direction for once. Wanting it did not make it available. Daniel followed me out of the dining room. In the elevator, he said, You don't have to leave because I asked. I know. Do you? I pressed the button for 4, even though it was already lit. If you say that to me one more time, I might kill you. Fair. The elevator climbed. He reached for my hand. I let him take it, but my fingers stayed stiff inside his. We packed quickly. I slid the ceremony folder from the desk drawer and carried it downstairs with the framed photograph checklist clipped to the front. Dad was waiting in the lobby alone. He looked older than he had at breakfast. You sure about this? He asked. No. That's not much of an answer. It's the one I have. I handed him the folder. Colored tabs marked his vows, Mom's vows, the reading, and the order of photographs. His thumb ran over the blue tab. I can't run this thing, he said. You can. I don't know the music. It's written down. Your mother's going to be upset. I'm already upset. He nodded, as if that were new information he needed time to consider. Then he pulled me into a hug. Dad's hugs were usually brief, one hard squeeze and a pat between the shoulder blades. This one lasted long enough for me to smell his aftershave and the coffee on his breath. She shouldn't have done it, he murmured. I closed my eyes. Then say that where she can hear you. He let go. At the front desk, I removed my card from the room's incidental charges. The rooms themselves were already paid. Mom and Dad would not be stranded. Marissa would simply have to use her own card for her martinis, tomato juice, and whatever else she decided fear required. Mom called while we loaded the car. I let it ring. Marissa texted before we reached the highway. You're really leaving them on their anniversary because you're mad at me? I read it twice. Daniel started the car but didn't pull away. Do you want to answer? No. Do you want to go back? I looked up at the hotel windows, trying to guess which one belonged to my parents. No, I said, and this time my voice did not shake. I want them to know what a weekend looks like when I stop saving it. Daniel backed out of the parking space and turned toward the long drive beneath the hotel portico. A bellman lifted one gloved hand to stop us for a family crossing in front of the car. They moved slowly, laughing, 4 adults carrying garment bags and paper cups. I waited for anger to make leaving feel good. It didn't. The hotel disappeared behind snow-heavy pines, and my phone rang through the car speakers. Mom flashed across the dashboard. Daniel reached toward the screen, then stopped. Your call. I pressed decline. 30 seconds later, she called again. Maybe something happened, I said. Something did happen. I mean with Dad. Daniel glanced at me. Then she'll leave a message. She did. The voicemail icon appeared, followed by 2 texts. "Where is the cable for the projector? Your father says it's in the bag, but it isn't." I closed my eyes. "The cable is in the front pocket," I said. Daniel kept both hands on the wheel. "She's going to tear apart the bag. Probably. And blame Dad. Probably." I typed front zipper pocket and sent it. Daniel didn't say anything. "What?" I didn't say anything. You sighed. I breathed. You breathed critically. That almost made him smile. Almost. The phone rang again. Dad this time. I declined that one too. "You can answer," Daniel said. "I thought you wanted me to stop fixing things. I want you to decide who you talk to." "That's different. It doesn't feel different." "I know." The highway ran south between flat fields, the snow thinning as we left the lake. I kept looking at my phone face down in my lap. Each vibration felt physical, a pulse against my leg. "Mom, the photographer is here early." "Dad, found the cable." "Mom, call me." Marissa sent nothing. At a gas station outside Fort Wayne, Daniel filled the tank while I went inside. I stood in front of a refrigerated case staring at sandwiches wrapped in plastic. I had skipped breakfast. My stomach hurt, but the idea of chewing seemed impossible. A woman in a red puffer jacket reached past me for a turkey sandwich, and my entire body stiffened. "Sorry," she said. "No, you're fine. I bought coffee, crackers, and a banana I knew I wouldn't eat." Daniel came in while I was paying and added a bag of barbecue chips to the counter. "You hate barbecue chips," I said. "They're for you. I don't want them. You will in 40 miles. The cashier looked between us. "Road trip?" "Something like that," Daniel said. Back in the car, he opened the bag and set it between us. I ate 3 chips before we reached the entrance ramp. At 11:15, Mom sent a photograph. She and Dad stood in front of the lake-facing windows. Mom wore the champagne-colored dress she had bought 6 months earlier and complained about for 5 of them. Dad wore the navy suit I had chosen because his black one made him look like he was attending his own parole hearing. The framed wedding photograph stood on an easel beside them. Behind their joined hands, the lake stretched gray and cold. Marissa stood at Mom's other side in a dark green dress. Her eyes looked swollen, even from a distance. There was an empty space beside Dad where Daniel and I were supposed to stand. Mom's message said, "We went ahead." I enlarged the picture. Dad's tie was crooked. "Did they do it?" Daniel asked. "Yes." "How do you feel?" "I don't know." "That's okay." "No, it isn't." "I should know. I'm either glad I left or I'm not." "You can be both." I hate when you say reasonable things in that voice. "What voice?" "The menu voice." He looked genuinely confused. "I have a menu voice?" "You use it when a client wants the grill 20 feet from the prep station." Very calm. Very, "I respect that you're an idiot." "I don't think you're an idiot. Maybe you should." He waited a moment. "Do you?" The question took the humor out of the car. I turned toward the window. "I lied to everyone at breakfast. Then I spent the night fixing ribbon. You were overwhelmed. Is that the polite word? It's the accurate word." My sister says she was overwhelmed too. We're not talking about her. How can we not be talking about her? Because I'm asking what you think about yourself. I watched a farmhouse pass, then an equipment yard, then a billboard for an injury lawyer grinning like he had personally invented bones. "I think I left," I said. "You did, and I think that should count for something." "It does, but not enough." Daniel's hands tightened slightly on the wheel. "Enough for what?" he asked. "For you not to look at me like this. I'm driving. You've been looking at me all morning without looking at me." He took the next exit without warning and pulled into the nearly empty parking lot of a closed garden center. Rows of bare wooden tables sat beneath a green awning. A giant fiberglass tomato smiled down at us from a sign. Daniel put the car in park. "I'm not angry because you stayed for dinner," he said. "You've mentioned it 15 times. I'm scared because you didn't seem to know you were allowed to leave." I left. After they admitted they knew, that was the final straw. Claire. The first straw was a photograph of a man in our bed. Our bed. Yes. Then why am I the one being evaluated? I'm not evaluating you. You are. You're deciding whether I passed some test Marissa made up. His face changed. That's not what this is. It feels exactly like that. She sends you a picture. You doubt me. I leave my parents' anniversary, and somehow I'm still the problem. I doubted what I was seeing. I did not doubt who you are. You asked if I met someone. And I'm sorry. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd looked at that picture and laughed because it was obviously impossible. So do I, but I didn't, and neither did you. You looked at it and started trying to figure out how to keep your mother's dinner on schedule. I opened the car door. Where are you going? I need air. It's 28 degrees. I'm aware. I walked past the fiberglass tomato to the end of the building. Beyond the parking lot, dormant fields stretched to a line of trees. My coat wasn't warm enough. I had packed for hotel corridors and staged photographs, not standing beside an Indiana field trying to decide whether my engagement was collapsing. Daniel came around the corner carrying my scarf. You forgot this. I didn't forget it. It's in your hand. He held it out. I took it without thanking him. For a minute, we stood side by side. I love you, he said. I stared at the field. That isn't a prelude to anything, he added. I'm not saying but. You're thinking one. I'm thinking and. That's just a more sophisticated but. He looked down, scraping one shoe against the salt-stained pavement. I love you, and I don't want to get married on schedule just because postponing would make Marissa feel powerful. My breath stopped. What? I think we should pause the wedding plans. I turned to him. You said you weren't leaving. I'm not ending our engagement. You want to postpone it. I want us to deal with what's happening before we move states and get married. What's happening is my sister lied. What's happening is she knew exactly where to put the lie. I pulled the scarf tight around my neck. So she wins. This is not a contest. It is to her. Then stop letting her set the rules. The wedding is in 4 months. Invitations go out next week. I know, we'll lose the venue. Maybe. The photographer. Maybe. The deposits. We'll figure it out. I laughed because the other option was screaming. You're the one who said tasks aren't chains. They aren't. They apparently hold a wedding together. Daniel stepped closer. I'm not asking you to choose between me and your family. It sounds like you are. I'm asking whether there's room in our marriage for boundaries they don't approve of. I left the hotel. Yes. How many times do I have to say that? You don't. I was there. Then what do you want? I want you to know why you left. The wind pushed a strand of hair across my mouth. I pulled it away too hard. I left because what they did was wrong. You left because they expected you to smile through it. What is the difference? I don't know yet. That answer scared me more than if he had pretended certainty. We drove the rest of the way with the radio on low. When we reached our townhouse in Columbus, the Sunday quiet of the neighborhood felt obscene. Someone had put a bag of old clothes beside the curb. A plastic watering can rolled across the driveway in the wind. Inside, the save-the-date samples were still held to the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a taco. Our photograph showed Daniel behind me, his chin on my shoulder, both of us laughing at something outside the frame. I set my ring finger over my own printed face. Daniel carried the bags upstairs. When he came down, he had repacked his things into a smaller duffel. Where are you going? Marco said I can stay with him for a few days. You called Marco? While you were in the gas station. You had this planned before you told me about the wedding. I thought we might need space. There's that word again. I don't know how else to say it. You could stay here. I could. We could also spend every minute deciding whether the other person is breathing critically. I never should have told you that. It was funny. I wasn't joking. I know. He put the duffel by the door. My phone rang. Dad. This time, I answered. Hey, he said. Hey. In the background, I heard dishes and Mom's voice asking someone where the cake knife had gone. We did the thing, Dad said. I saw the picture. Your mother read my vows because I lost my place. I tabbed them. I know. I got nervous. I'm sorry. So am I. For one hopeful second, neither of us spoke. Then Dad lowered his voice. Could you call your mother? She's taking this pretty hard. I closed my eyes. Did Marissa tell you who the man was? No. Did she apologize? She's upset too. That isn't what I asked. Claire, today isn't the day to sort all this out. Then stop asking me to make Mom feel better today. He sighed. You proved your point. I wasn't trying to prove a point. What were you trying to do? I looked at Daniel's bag beside the door. Stop being the thing everyone stands on. Dad was silent. Behind him, Mom called his name. I have to go, he said. When the call ended, Daniel picked up his bag. I wanted to ask him to stay. I wanted to order him to stay. I wanted to take back every honest thing either of us had said since Michigan. Instead, I opened the door. He kissed my forehead, and I hated him a little for making tenderness hurt worse. After his car disappeared, I went upstairs and found my pale blue robe folded on top of my suitcase. I carried it to the washing machine, then stopped with my hand on the lid. It didn't need washing. I did not need to erase the room from it. I put it back in the closet and shut the door. My alarm went off at 6, and I reached across the bed before I remembered there was no one there. Daniel's pillow still held the shallow dent of his head. I smoothed it with my palm, then got angry at myself and punched it twice, which improved nothing. Downstairs, his coffee mug was in the drying rack, the dark green one with the chipped handle. I used it instead of mine and stood at the counter drinking coffee that tasted wrong because I had made too much. Mom texted at 6:37. Your father moved his cardiology appointment to Thursday and now says he can't go. Can you call them when they open? I read it 3 times. Dad was perfectly capable of calling his own doctor. He disliked telephone menus and tended to press 0 until a human appeared, but he could do it. I typed, he should call them, then deleted it. I typed, I'm working early. Ask Marissa, and deleted that too. Finally, I set the phone face down and took a shower. At 7:12, Dad texted, Ignore your mother, I'll handle it. The relief that passed through me was followed by shame, then irritation at the shame. My emotions had become a committee where everyone spoke at once and no one took minutes. I worked for a packaging company on the east side of Columbus, managing national accounts whose emergencies involved labels, shipping windows, and people using the phrase brand integrity as if a slightly wrong shade of yellow might destabilize civilization. Normally, I liked the measurable nature of it. A deadline was a deadline. A box was either on a truck or it wasn't. That morning, I spent 40 minutes staring at a spreadsheet before realizing I had opened last quarter's file. My coworker Denise appeared beside my cubicle, holding 2 coffees and wearing the expression she reserved for gossip and fire drills. You're in yesterday's pants, she said. I looked down. They're black. They're the black pants with the shiny knee. I own several knees. You wore those Friday. Maybe I washed them. You didn't. She set a coffee beside my keyboard. Denise was 52, divorced twice, and believed privacy was a symptom of low blood sugar. How was the anniversary? Beautiful. How's Daniel? Fine. She leaned against the partition. I opened an email. Denise sipped her coffee. If you tell me everybody's fine one more time, I'm calling somebody. Who? I don't know yet. I need details. My phone rang before I could answer. The display showed Bell Pine Paper Studio, the company printing our invitations. I watched it ring. Denise looked at the screen, then at me. That seems wedding-shaped. It is. Answer it. I don't want to. That is also wedding-shaped, but in a different direction. I picked up. A cheerful woman named Amy told me the final proof was ready. If Daniel and I approved it by Wednesday, the invitations would ship the following week. Great, I said. Would you like me to send the approval link to both of you? No. The answer came too sharply. I mean, yes, send it to both of us, but don't print yet. There was a tiny pause. We won't print without approval. Right. Of course. When the call ended, Denise sat in the empty chair beside my desk. What happened? I stared at the yellow cells on my spreadsheet. My sister sent Daniel a staged picture that made it look like I had another man in our hotel room. Denise blinked once. I need the long version, and I need to cancel lunch. I told her enough to hear how unbelievable it sounded. The spare key, the wine glasses, the red coat in the mirror. My parents knowing before the ceremony. Daniel asking for space. Denise listened without interrupting, which was so unlike her that I kept checking her face. When I finished, she said, "Do you want my opinion or my company? What's the difference? In one, I tell you what I think. In the other, I sit here and call your sister a bitch." I laughed despite myself. It broke into something dangerously close to a sob, so I covered my mouth. Denise rolled her chair nearer and rested her hand on my forearm. "I don't know what I want," I said. "Company first, then." She sat with me until I could breathe without making noise. Then she stole the untouched coffee she had brought me and returned to her desk without offering advice. It was the kindest thing anyone had done all weekend. Daniel texted at noon. "How are you?" I wrote fine, erased it, and sent bad. "You?" 3 dots appeared. Same. I waited for more. Nothing came. At 5, the invitation proof arrived. Our names were printed in dark blue script over a watercolor branch. Claire Bennett and Daniel Ortiz request the pleasure of your company. The sentence felt like it belonged to 2 people who knew where they would be sleeping. I closed the email. When I got home, a gray pickup was parked across the end of my driveway. Ryan stood beside it with both hands in the pockets of a brown canvas jacket. My first thought was that Marissa had sent him. My second was that he was the right height. He saw me looking at his shoulders and turned pale. "It was me," he said. "I stayed by my car." "In the photograph?" "Yes." He looked different without Marissa beside him. Smaller somehow, though he was over 6 feet tall. Ryan usually filled rooms by explaining things no one had asked him to explain. Now he stared at a crack in the driveway. "How did you know where I live?" "I've been here." "When?" He hesitated. "Your birthday last year." 30 people had come through the townhouse that night. Marissa brought Ryan, then spent half the party pretending she hadn't. "Why are you here?" "To tell you what happened." "Did Marissa ask you to?" "No. She told me not to contact you." That made him slightly more believable. I unlocked the front door but didn't invite him inside. "You have 5 minutes." He nodded. "Marissa called me Saturday morning and said she needed help with a joke. I met her at the hotel after she got there." "What kind of joke?" "She said you were in on it." "In on what?" "A loyalty thing." I closed my eyes. Of course. She said Daniel's friends had been giving him a hard time about getting married, asking how well he really knew you. She wanted to send him something ridiculous and see if he'd call it fake. "And you believed I wanted a photograph of you half-dressed on my bed? I had a shirt on. Everybody keeps saying that like it helps." Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. "I thought it was supposed to be obviously staged. She had me sit facing away because Daniel would recognize me." "Daniel has met you twice." "I know. That's what she said." "Where did the wine come from?" "The bar." She brought up 2 glasses, so there was never a strange man already in the room. "No." She unlocked the door. "Yes." She put my robe on the chair. Ryan looked toward the house. "I don't know." It was already there when I came in. It had not been on the chair when I left. Marissa's coat had been. "Did you see her move her coat?" "She put it on when she took the picture." "Why?" "I don't know." "Think." His embarrassment sharpened into irritation. "Because the coat was on the chair and she wanted your robe there instead." She moved the coat, put the robe down, then changed her mind and hung it over the back. Every detail made the staging slower, more deliberate. Marissa had not snapped a picture during a burst of panic. She had arranged color and objects until the lie looked right. What did she tell you after she sent it? That Daniel was upset. How did she know? He texted her. What did she say? Ryan looked miserable, that he fell for it. I gripped my keys until the teeth pressed into my palm. Did she laugh? No, She looked scared. That hurt in a different way. She told me to leave through the stairs, he continued. Then last night she called and said you'd left the hotel. She said everybody was blaming her, and I needed to say I'd gone into the wrong room if anyone asked. Why didn't you? Because it wasn't the wrong room. Why did you agree in the first place? Ryan looked at me then. Because she said you knew. And because when Marissa wants something to be true, she makes you feel stupid for seeing the holes. It was not an excuse, but it was familiar. Are you still with her? I don't know. That means yes. Probably. My phone rang in my bag. Daniel. I let it ring once before answering. Hey, Amy sent the invitation proof. I saw. A long pause. I didn't approve it, he said. Neither did I. Another pause. Ryan shifted near the truck. I said, Ryan's here. Daniel's voice changed. At the house? He admitted he was the man in the picture. Marissa told him it was a joke I knew about. Put him on. Ryan shook his head before I even moved the phone. He says, no, I heard him. I can call you after. No, I'm coming over. You don't have to, I know. He arrived 15 minutes later. Ryan stayed, though he spent most of the wait pacing beside his truck. When Daniel got out of his car, he walked straight to Ryan. You sat in our room, he said. Ryan lifted both hands. I'm not proud of it. You let her photograph you. She said Claire knew, and that was enough? I thought it was a stupid family joke. It was. Daniel, I said. He turned toward me. The anger on his face vanished so quickly it left him looking exhausted. Ryan repeated the story. Daniel asked fewer questions than I had. When Ryan finished, Daniel said, Tell Marissa you told us. I plan to. No. Tell her now. Ryan hesitated, then took out his phone and called. Marissa answered immediately. We couldn't hear her words, only the shape of her voice. I told Claire, Ryan said, and Daniel. Even from several feet away, I heard her shout his name. Ryan winced. I'm not lying for you. Her voice sharpened. No, he said. You did this. He ended the call and stared at the screen. She'll call you next, he told me. My phone rang before he finished the sentence. I answered. Marissa did not say hello. You went to Ryan? He came to me. He's lying about what I said. He admitted everything. Oh, well, great. I hope you two enjoy your little team. Why did you do it? I told you. No, you gave me 6 different explanations. I want the one you didn't tell Mom. Silence. Daniel stood a few feet away, watching my face. Marissa breathed into the phone. I wanted him to hesitate, she said. He did. I know. You wanted to hurt me. No, Clary. I wanted to know if he was taking you away because he loved you or because you were easy. My grip tightened around the phone. Easy. You do everything for people. You rearrange your whole life and call it love. He gets a promotion and suddenly you're moving to North Carolina. I chose to go. Did you? Because you choose whatever makes you necessary. Her words found the place Daniel's had already bruised. I looked at him, and she seemed to hear the silence. You think he's different, she said, but he doubted you, and now he's leaving you anyway. Daniel's face told me he heard that too. I swallowed. This conversation is over. Claire? No, you don't get to break something and then explain why it was already cracked. I ended the call. Ryan left without saying goodbye. Daniel and I stood in the driveway beneath the yellow porch light, close enough to touch and neither of us moving. Finally, he said, I never needed Ryan to prove you weren't cheating. I did. For me? I shook my head. For the part of me that still thought she might have an explanation. Daniel looked toward the closed front door. Does that part believe her now? No, I said, but it still loves her. Daniel's expression softened. That doesn't make you weak, he said. I didn't say it did. You look like you're waiting for me to. I'm waiting for you to tell me love isn't enough. He put both hands in his coat pockets. Sometimes it isn't. The porch light buzzed above us. I looked past him toward the street. Marco lived less than 20 minutes away, but the distance felt intentional in a way mileage didn't measure. Then what are we doing? Trying to figure out what has to exist with it. You make marriage sound like building code. It would be easier if it were. Sprinklers, 2 exits, no emotionally dependent sisters within 50 feet. I'd vote for that ordinance. I laughed once, then immediately felt disloyal. Daniel noticed. You're allowed to laugh at her. I don't want to. Okay. I don't want you to hate her either. I don't. She tried to destroy our engagement. I know what she did. And you don't hate her? I don't trust her. I don't want her near our relationship. That's different. It doesn't feel different. It will if she ever changes. The word if settled heavily between us. I unlocked the front door. Do you want to come in? For a little while. Inside, Daniel hung his coat on the second hook, the one beneath the framed print that said, "Home is where the good knives are." He had bought it for me after I complained that his chef's knives occupied an entire drawer. Ryan's visit had left muddy half-moons on the entry tile. I reached for the paper towels under the sink. Daniel took my wrist. Leave it. It'll dry. Then it'll still be there tomorrow. That's generally how dirt works. Claire, I need to do something. He released me. I cleaned the tile. Daniel sat at the kitchen island and watched until I was done. Not critically, just there. The barbecue chips from the car were folded closed on the counter. I opened them and pushed the bag toward him. You hate these, I'm having a difficult week. People change. He ate one and made a face. I leaned against the opposite side of the island. Marissa said, I choose whatever makes me necessary. I heard. You agree. I think she knows how to say something true in the cruelest possible way. That isn't a no. No, it isn't. I looked down at the granite. You think moving with you makes me useful. I worry that you said yes before you knew whether you wanted to. I want to marry you. That wasn't what I said. North Carolina is part of marrying you. It doesn't have to be. You're taking the promotion. I haven't accepted the final relocation package. That surprised me. I thought you had. I accepted the position. We still have some flexibility on the start date. You told everyone we were moving in June. Because that was the plan. Was? He rubbed his thumb over a faint scratch in the countertop. The job isn't the part I'm questioning. Just me. Us. Don't make it plural to be polite. I am questioning whether we know how to make decisions together when your family is upset. What about when you're upset? Apparently, we paused the wedding. He took that without defending himself. I hated how much his silence made me hear my own words. I should have told you about Marissa's comments, he said. Yes, I kept deciding they weren't important enough to bother you with. Because you thought I'd defend her, partly, and the other part? I didn't want to sound insecure. The admission made him look younger. You? I asked. I'm not made of restaurant equipment, Claire. You kind of are. He smiled. Stainless steel exterior, difficult to move through narrow doors. I reached for a chip, though I wasn't hungry. If you had told me, I would have said she was joking. I know. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have told me. I know that too. We talked until the room darkened around us, and neither of us got up to turn on another light. Nothing was solved. We made no promises beyond dinner later in the week. When Daniel left, he kissed me once. Not my forehead this time. The kiss was brief and familiar enough to make me want to grab the front of his coat and keep him there. I didn't. The next morning, Belle Pine sent an automated reminder. Your invitation is ready for approval. The exclamation point felt aggressive. I opened the proof. Our names still curved together in dark blue script. Beneath them was the date Mom had insisted was lucky because the digits added up to 12. Marissa had called that the most Mom reason imaginable, and I had laughed until Mom threatened to choose a different dress. I clicked request changes. In the comment box, I wrote, Please place the order on hold. We will contact you when we have a new date. My finger hovered over submit. I could hear Marissa in the driveway. He doubted you, and now he's leaving you anyway. Sending the message felt like confirming her version. Not sending it felt like using a printer to force Daniel toward the altar. I clicked. Amy replied with a warm, professional note that included no questions and ended with, We're here when you're ready. I cried harder over that sentence than I had over the photograph. Dad called that afternoon. I rescheduled the cardiology appointment, he announced. Congratulations. Had to press 7 different buttons. You survived. Barely. Your mother thinks I moved it because of you. Did you? No. I moved it because Thursday's a bad day. I waited. He cleared his throat. You could call her. Dad, I'm not taking sides. You called to ask me to call Mom. That isn't a side. What has she said to Marissa? I don't know. Yes, you do. He lowered his voice. Your sister and Ryan are having trouble. Ryan told me. You talked to him? He came to my house and admitted the picture was staged. Dad went quiet. He said Marissa planned it, I continued. She brought him to the hotel, arranged the room, took the picture, and told him I knew about it. He may be saying that because they're fighting. Dad. I'm just saying there are 2 people involved, and only one of them is your daughter. That's not fair. No, it's accurate. He breathed into the phone. Did she tell you he admitted it? I asked. No. Ask her. I don't want to get in the middle. You're already in the middle. You just keep facing me. He had no joke for that. We ended the call without making each other feel better. Mom held out until Thursday morning. Then she called while I was walking into work. I need your help, she said instead of hello. With what? The insurance website has locked me out. Call the number on the back of the card. I did. It wants Frank's member identification number. It's on the card. He has the card. Then ask Dad. He's at the hardware store. Call him. She exhaled sharply. This is ridiculous. It is. I don't appreciate your tone. I stopped outside the revolving doors. People flowed around me carrying laptops and coffee. What do you need from the website? I need to check whether the cardiologist is still in network since your father moved the appointment. He can ask when he goes. I don't want him arriving and finding out they won't cover it. Then call the office. I knew you'd make this difficult. The sentence was so ordinary I almost missed what it meant. Not helping was difficulty. A task remaining with the person who owned it was something I had done to her. I'm going into work, I said. Claire, it takes you 5 minutes. It takes me 5 minutes because I've done it for you for 10 years. Families help each other. Yes. Well, ask Marissa. Silence. She has a job, Mom said. So do I. Her schedule isn't as flexible. She sells real estate. You know weekends are busy. It's Thursday. Mom's voice hardened. This isn't about insurance. No, you're punishing all of us. I'm going to work. You are not the only person who was hurt. The revolving door turned behind me, releasing a burst of warm air against my back. I know, I said. Daniel was hurt too. That isn't what I meant. I know that too. I ended the call and stood outside until my hands stopped shaking. Denise met me in the lobby. You look like you fought a bear. My mother, worse. Bears don't know your middle name. She held up a paper bag. Muffin? I took one. By Friday, Daniel and I had turned practical texts into a fragile routine. Did the plumber call? Yes. Tuesday, between 10 and 12. Your basil is dying. It's dramatic. It's brown. Water it. We met for dinner at a small Lebanese restaurant near Marco's apartment. Daniel arrived first and ordered hummus, but waited to touch it until I sat down. That tiny courtesy nearly undid me. Halfway through the meal, Mom called. I declined it. She called again. Daniel looked at my phone. You can answer. I know. On the third call, I picked up. Your father's appointment is Tuesday, Mom said. Marissa was going to drive him, but she has a showing. Dad's appointment was 10 minutes from their house. He still drove, but Mom disliked highways and treated medical parking garages as architectural traps. What are you asking? I need you to take him. I'm working. You can work from anywhere. I can't. You always have before. Daniel's hand rested beside his plate, still. Then Marissa can move her showing. She can't. Dad can drive himself. He gets nervous. I know. Mom waited, confident that knowing would become doing. I'm not available, I said. What am I supposed to tell your father? The truth. And what is that? That I'm not available? I ended the call and set the phone face down. Daniel didn't praise me or ask whether I was okay. He tore a piece of pita, dipped it in hummus, and said, "This place puts too much cumin in everything." I looked at him. "What?" he asked. "Nothing." You sighed. I breathed. He smiled. After dinner, he walked me to my car. Snowmelt shone beneath the parking lot lights. "Do you want to do this again?" he asked. "Eat too much cumin? Talk without solving everything. When? Sunday?" I nodded. He touched my cheek with the backs of his fingers. "Not wedding planning," I said. "No, not North Carolina. No, then what?" His hand fell. "Maybe we find out who we are when nobody needs an answer right away." For the first time in my life, that sounded less like uncertainty than permission. By Sunday, I had rejected 4 explanations for why Daniel should come to the townhouse instead of meeting somewhere neutral. The basil needed attention. We had groceries in the refrigerator. Marco's guest room was probably depressing. I missed him. The last one was true, so naturally I didn't use it. Daniel arrived carrying a paper bag of onions and a cast-iron skillet I recognized from Marco's kitchen. "Did you steal his pan?" He said his pans are my pans. That sounds biblical. He was eating cereal directly from the box when he said it, so less biblical than you'd think. He set everything on the counter and inspected my basil. It had 1 green leaf left. "You murdered it." "You told me to water it." "I didn't tell you to drown it." I was compensating. That could be your family crest. I leaned against the refrigerator. "You've gotten meaner since moving out." Marco watches competitive cooking shows. It's changing me. We made shakshuka because Daniel said chopping things counted as talking. He handed me peppers while he dealt with the onions. I cut mine into careful, even strips. "You can make them different sizes," he said. "I can also make them the same size. The pan won't report you. Your pan isn't supposed to be here." "Marco's pan. Then you're an accessory." He smiled and went back to the onions. The ease of standing beside him made the separation feel ridiculous. Then my elbow brushed his, and his body shifted away by instinct, reminding me it wasn't. While the tomatoes simmered, he opened 2 sparkling waters. We sat at the island, the same places we had occupied the night Ryan confessed. "I told my company I need another week on the relocation package," he said. "You didn't have to do that. I wanted to." "Because of me?" "Because I haven't decided what I want either." I turned the can between my palms. "I thought the job was your dream. It's a good opportunity." Dreams are usually less specific about dental coverage. You've wanted to design full-time for that restaurant group for years. Yes, so take it. That sounds like permission. It is. I don't need permission. Then why are we discussing it? Because where I live affects you. Only if we're together. The words came out flat. Daniel's face tightened. "Do you not think we're together?" he asked. "I don't know what together means when you live at Marco's and our invitations are on hold. It means we're trying. It also means you can leave without having to pack much." He looked at his water. I immediately wanted to apologize. Instead, I waited. After a moment, he said, "That's true." His agreement irritated me more than denial would have. "I had doubts about North Carolina," I said. He looked up. "Not about you. About leaving my job, finding another one, not knowing anyone, living close to your new office instead of mine. Every time I tried to think about it, Mom acted like I was planning her funeral, and Marissa made jokes about you kidnapping me. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to sound like them. I'm not them. I know." "Do you?" I set the can down. Daniel leaned back. "You never told me you were worried about work. You said Raleigh had plenty of jobs." "It does. That isn't the same as mine." "No. You kept sending me houses farther from the city because they had bigger kitchens. I thought you liked them. I liked the kitchens. What didn't you like?" "The houses." He stared at me, then started laughing. "What? I sent you 14 houses. Some were nice. You hated them." "I did not hate the brick one. You said it had character. It looked like a dentist's office trying to have character." He covered his eyes with one hand. "I almost scheduled a showing. I would have gone. That's the problem. The laughter left us at the same time. I need you to be difficult with me, he said. I can do difficult. No, you can do accommodating until you explode. That's harder. It isn't better. The timer sounded. Daniel returned to the stove, and I watched him crack eggs into the sauce, each one settling into a little hollow he made with the spoon. I don't want to lose you over this, I said. He lowered the heat. Neither do I. Then come home. He turned around. I had not planned to say it. The request hung between us, too naked to disguise as anything practical. Daniel set down the spoon. I want to, he said, and I don't think we're ready. I looked at the countertop. He came closer. That isn't rejection. It feels like it. I know. Stop saying that. Okay. We ate at the island. The eggs were perfect. The peppers were not all the same size, and no one died. When he left, the skillet stayed behind. On Tuesday evening, Dad showed up carrying the ceremony folder and half an anniversary cake in a clear plastic container. Your mother says we can't freeze it, he said. She's right. She usually is after she's already tried something. I let him in. He noticed the empty hook by the door. Then he noticed Daniel's shoes were gone from the mat. He coming back? I hope so. Dad nodded like a man hearing test results he did not fully understand. We ate cake at the kitchen table. It was vanilla with raspberry filling, the kind Mom had chosen after making the bakery give her 9 samples. Dad ate the frosting first. The ceremony looked nice, I said. It was. Mom's dress photographed well. She'll be happy you said that. I wasn't saying it for you to report. I know. He took another bite. Did the vows go okay after she read them? She skipped the part about the Buick. She hates the Buick story. That's why it's funny. He smiled, then put down his fork. Ryan told Marissa he came here. Yes. She finally admitted he was the man in the picture. To you? To your mother. I was there. What else did she admit? That it was staged. The word loosened something in my chest and tightened something else. Did she say why? She was afraid you were leaving. So? Dad frowned. So she gets to do anything she wants? No. Did you tell her that? I told her it was unacceptable. Those exact words? Something like them. Dad. He sighed. I said she'd gone too far. She passed too far when she unlocked my room. I know. Do you? His fork scraped the plate. We should have come upstairs that night, he said. I waited. Your mother wanted to. No, she didn't. She sent you a message. She asked if I was awake. She was hoping you'd answer. She could have knocked. Dad looked toward the window. Darkness reflected the kitchen back at us, 2 people sitting across from each other with cake between them. We leaned on you, he said. The words were quiet enough that I almost missed them. For what? For everything. That isn't an answer. You always handled things. Your sister didn't. Marissa can handle things. Not like you. That doesn't make them mine. I know that now. No. You know I'm angry now. He rubbed one hand over his face. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Something you haven't already replaced with a request. His eyes met mine. You're right, he said. I waited for the request. It came anyway. Your mother wants us all to have dinner. I laughed. Dad looked pained. I had to ask. No, you didn't. I told her you'd probably say no. You were correct. What would have to happen for you to say yes? Marissa would have to tell the truth without calling it a joke, a test, a panic, or an attempt to protect somebody. She admitted it was staged. To you, that's a start. For you. He stood and carried his plate to the sink. At the door, he hugged me. It was another long hug, which meant he was worried enough to break his own habits. I'm sorry Daniel left, he said. He didn't leave. Dad glanced at the empty hook. We're trying, I said. I hope so. After he drove away, Mom texted, Your father came home very upset. I hope you're satisfied. I didn't answer. Marissa arrived the next evening wearing jeans, flat boots, and a gray coat I had never seen. For one irrational second, I wondered whether she had stopped wearing red. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. "What are you doing here? Dad said you wanted me to tell you the truth." "I told Dad what would have to happen before I had dinner with you." "Same difference." "No." She looked tired. Not theatrically tired. There was no carefully smudged mascara, no trembling mouth. Her hair was pulled into a low knot and she had a small crack in the skin beside her thumb. "Can I come in?" "I don't know. It's cold." "That isn't an argument. It's 29 degrees. I stepped aside. She walked into the kitchen and stopped when she saw the cast iron skillet drying beside the sink. "He's back?" "No. But he's been here." "Yes." She nodded, absorbing that. I stayed standing. "Talk." Marissa removed her coat and draped it over a chair. "Ryan says I used him." "You did. He could have said no. So could you." Her eyes flashed. "See, this is why I didn't come sooner. You came because Dad told you to." "No. Dad told me not to come until Mom calmed down. That surprised me enough to keep me quiet." Marissa looked around the kitchen. "They've been making me do everything." "What does everything mean? Dad's appointment, Mom's insurance, returning the cake stand, fixing the pictures from the ceremony because Mom hates how her arm looks. Tragic. I'm not saying it's the same. You're saying you don't like being the person they call. I'm saying I understand why you're mad. Those are not the same either." She pulled out a chair but did not sit. "I didn't want Daniel to leave you," she said. "What did you want?" "I wanted him to hesitate." "He did." "I know. And then?" "I thought you'd get angry. I thought you'd finally admit you were scared about moving. Maybe you'd postpone the wedding or tell him you needed more time. You could have asked me if I was scared. You would have lied. I would have said I was fine." "Exactly. That didn't give you permission to put a man in my hotel room. I know." It was the first time she had said it without another sentence attached. She stared at the skillet. "I thought you'd fix it," she whispered. "What? You always fix everything. I thought he'd be upset and you'd explain it, and he'd feel stupid for doubting you. Then you'd forgive me after Mom made everybody sit down." The honesty of it was uglier than the lies. "You counted on my forgiveness. I counted on you." "No. You counted on there being no consequences." Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. "Yes," she said, "I did." Her yes didn't make me feel better. I had imagined confession as a door opening. Instead, it was a light coming on in a room I already knew was ugly. Marissa sat at the kitchen table. Her gray coat slid from the chair back, and she caught it before it hit the floor. "Say something," she said. "What do you want me to say?" "I don't know. That I forgive you?" "No." The answer came quickly enough that I believed it. She placed the coat across her lap. "I know I don't get to ask for that." "Then why are you here?" "Because Dad said you needed the truth. You said Dad told you not to come. He says a lot of things. Some of us listen. That's funny coming from you." I stared at her. She flinched. "Sorry. Habit." That was Marissa, too, a knife thrown before she had decided whether she was in danger. I sat across from her. "Why did you need Daniel to hesitate?" She picked at the cracked skin beside her thumb. "Because you never did." "About what?" "Any of it. The wedding, the move, leaving your job. You just kept saying how exciting everything was. It is exciting. You hate moving. Nobody likes moving. You cried when the grocery store changed its layout. They put bread beside cleaning supplies. It was chaos." Her mouth twitched, then flattened again. "You didn't talk to me," she said. "We talked constantly. You sent me hotel confirmations. You asked if Mom had shoes. You reminded me to bring Spanx. You thanked me for that. You know what I mean. I did." Before Daniel, Marissa and I had talked in the shorthand of people who knew every previous version of each other. She could tell from the way I said fine whether I was angry or tired. I knew she was lonely when she started sending photographs of ordinary objects with long captions. During the final year of her marriage, she sent me pictures of dinners she cooked for one, while insisting she and her husband were merely busy. After the divorce, she slept on my sofa for 6 weeks. She left mugs everywhere, used all my conditioner, and woke me at 2 in the morning to ask whether I thought she had ruined her life. I never told her to leave. 3 years earlier, when Ethan ended things with me in the parking lot of an Italian restaurant, Marissa drove over with 2 spoons and a frozen cheesecake. She sat on my kitchen floor while I cried so hard I couldn't eat it. At dawn, she called my office and told them I had food poisoning. Then she climbed into bed beside me and held my hand until I slept. The love had been real. So had everything else. I stopped telling you things because you use them, I said. She looked up. If I told you I was nervous about North Carolina, you mentioned it to Mom. If I complained that Daniel worked late, you joked that he was already avoiding me. Anything I gave you became evidence. I wasn't trying to. You were. Maybe not every time, but enough. She rubbed her thumb against the coat fabric. I thought you were shutting me out. I was protecting the part of my life you kept picking at. You acted like Daniel was the only person you could trust. At the hotel, he was. He doubted you, for less time than you spent arranging the photograph. Her eyes dropped. I leaned back. Did you think if he failed your test, I'd stay in Columbus? I thought you might postpone. That isn't what I asked. She looked toward the dark window. Yes, she said. There it was. Not panic, not protection, not concern about whether Daniel knew me. She wanted a crack wide enough to keep me nearby. What was supposed to happen after that, I asked. I keep driving you to airports? I keep doing Mom's insurance? I stay close enough to fix Dad's appointments until one of us dies. Don't make it sound like that. What does it sound like to you? Like family? No. Family is what we called the arrangement. Her face tightened. You liked being the reliable one. The words hurt because they were true. I did, I said. She blinked. I liked being the person everyone called. I liked knowing Mom trusted me with plans and Dad asked me to fix things. I liked that you needed me. Marissa stared at me as if I had changed languages. Then why are you acting like we forced you? Because you did. And because I helped you do it. She looked down at her hands. I don't understand. I kept saying yes, then resented all of you for believing me. That's not fair. No, it wasn't fair to anyone. Marissa's eyes filled again. This time, the tears spilled over. She wiped them with the heel of her hand and gave a frustrated laugh. Mom thinks they favored me. They did. She thinks they protected me because I'm fragile. They did that too. She doesn't know me at all. I almost said neither do I, but that would have been crueler than it was true. Dad told me once that they worry about you because you feel everything, I said. He said they don't worry about me because I land on my feet. Marissa's laugh was small and bitter. That sounds like him. I wanted someone to worry anyway. I worried. Sometimes. She nodded. Do you know what it's like? She said. Being the daughter everybody rearranges things for, but nobody respects? The question surprised me. They respect you. No, they manage me. Mom talks about me while I'm sitting there. Dad asks you whether I'm okay. They act like every decision I make is temporary until you check it. I never asked them to do that. I know. Her voice had no accusation in it. That made it harder to defend myself. Maybe they didn't choose one of us, she said. Maybe they chose what we did for them. You were allowed to need. I was allowed to be needed. And now neither of us knows how to do anything else. We sat with that. The refrigerator hummed. A car moved slowly past the house, headlights sliding across the ceiling. Marissa reached into her bag and pulled out my spare house key. I recognized the faded blue rubber cover. I'd given it to her after the divorce. I figured you'd want this. I took it. She had never abused that key. She had fed my basil when I traveled, left soup in my refrigerator when I was sick, and once filled my bedroom with balloons while I was at work. Taking it still felt necessary. Her fingers closed around empty air after I removed it. Am I out of the wedding? She asked. The wedding is on hold. That wasn't my question. Yes. She swallowed. I can't have you standing beside me while I wonder whether you want me to get married. I do want you to. You didn't. I didn't want you to leave. They became the same thing to you. I know. The phrase was starting to sound less like an excuse and more like grief. Are you going to tell Mom and Dad not to come? I haven't decided. They'll choose me. I looked at her. She gave me a sad, crooked smile. You know they will. For years, I would have denied it to comfort her. This time, I said nothing. She stood and put on her gray coat. At the door, she turned back. I really am sorry. I believe you're sorry this happened. That isn't what I said. It's all I can believe right now. She nodded. Will you ever forgive me? Maybe. Her face crumpled slightly. But forgiveness won't mean going back. I know. You keep saying that. I'm trying to make it true. I opened the door. She stepped onto the porch, then looked back at me. Good night, Clary. Don't call me that right now. The pain on her face was immediate. She left anyway. The skillet remained beside my sink for 11 days. Daniel came to the townhouse twice during that time. Once for dress shirts, once for the leather portfolio he had forgotten in the hall closet. Both visits lasted less than 20 minutes. We still met for dinner, but we did not kiss in parking lots. The space between us became less hostile and more honest, which wasn't the same as easier. Mom stopped calling. Dad sent weather reports and photographs of tools he was considering buying. Marissa sent one message. I gave Mom the insurance number. It took 2 hours. I almost replied, "Welcome to the family," but deleted it. On the 11th night, Daniel arrived with groceries and no explanation. He picked up the skillet, inspected it, and set it on the stove. I thought you came to get that, I said. I did. You're using it. I'm making dinner before I take it. That sounds suspiciously like an excuse. It's rice. Don't overinterpret it. He made arroz con pollo while I sat at the island drinking wine. Not the Michigan Cabernet. I had thrown that bottle away without opening it. Marissa came over, I said. Daniel kept chopping cilantro. How was that? Terrible. Productive terrible or regular terrible? I don't know yet. I told him what she had admitted. I told him about the spare house key and the wedding. I told him she believed my parents would choose her if forced. Do you? He asked. Yes. He put down the knife. I'm sorry. I don't want you to be sorry. What do you want? I want to stop arranging my life around what they might choose. That sounds difficult. It is. Still want North Carolina? I took a sip of wine. I want to visit without telling my family why. I want to see the office, look at neighborhoods I might actually like, and decide what I would do there besides be your wife. Daniel leaned both hands on the counter. That's what I want too. And if I don't want to move, then we talk about that. Would you turn down the job? I don't know. The answer hurt, but it did not frighten me the way it would have 2 weeks earlier. Okay, I said. Okay, it's an honest answer. He came around the island and stood in front of me. I'm sorry I moved out like leaving was the only way to be heard. I'm sorry I treated your steadiness like an unlimited resource. His eyes closed for a moment. That's exactly what I was trying to say. I know. You use too many words. I do that. You really do. He touched my face. When he kissed me, it was slow and uncertain, nothing like the familiar kiss at the door. I held the front of his shirt, not to keep him from leaving, but because I wanted him closer. His overnight bag was in the car. He admitted that only after dinner. You planned this? I asked. I hoped. You could have asked. I'm learning. He brought the bag inside and placed it beside the stairs. He did not unpack. Neither of us called it moving home. That night, he slept beside me, and when I reached across the bed in the dark, he was there because he had chosen to be, not because I had made myself impossible to leave. In the morning, Daniel's bag remained beside the stairs. We didn't discuss it over coffee. He used his chipped green mug. I used mine. We stood barefoot in the kitchen while the furnace clicked on, and he read the weather from his phone as if he had only been gone for an evening. Before work, he took the bag back to his car. I tried not to let my face change. "I need clean clothes," he said. "You have clothes upstairs. I also have clothes at Marco's." "Right." He touched my chin. "I'll be back tonight. You don't have to report to me." "I know. I'm telling you because I want you to know." He came back with 2 garment bags, a box of shoes, and the espresso machine Marco had apparently enjoyed more than Daniel expected. "Marco says he's keeping it," Daniel told me. "That machine cost $400. 5 years ago. It has sentimental value. It screams and leaks. It's Italian." So was my grandmother. She made coffee in a saucepan. By the end of the week, his toothbrush was beside mine again. His shoes returned to the mat. The cast iron skillet occupied its place in the lower cabinet, and the empty hook by the door stopped accusing me. Daniel never announced that he had moved home. I never asked whether the attempt was permanent. We learned to tolerate the uncertainty without forcing it into a promise. When Mom called, he didn't watch me decide whether to answer. When I answered, he didn't assume I had failed. That mattered. Dad's cardiology appointment went fine. He called afterward to report that the doctor wanted him to eat less salt. I told him I don't add salt, Dad said. "You eat canned chili. That comes salted. I don't add it. Good luck with that argument." The man went to medical school. He should understand sequence. Mom took over the call to tell me the parking garage had been impossible. She spoke for 6 minutes without mentioning Marissa, Daniel, the hotel, or the fact that we had not seen each other in nearly a month. I let her. Then she asked, "Is Daniel still staying elsewhere?" "He's home." "Oh." The single syllable held surprise, relief, and something dangerously close to disappointment that one available crisis had resolved without her. "We're taking a trip to Raleigh next weekend," I said. "Why? To look around. Does that mean you're still going?" "I haven't decided. You already decided months ago." "I agreed months ago. I'm deciding now." Mom was quiet. Then she said, "Your father's yelling at the soup. Tell him low sodium isn't a personal attack. It is to him." She ended the call. I sat at the kitchen table looking at my phone. The conversation had been almost normal, which made me miss her more than an apology would have. Raleigh was warmer than Columbus and greener than I expected. Daniel had previously shown me suburbs with large kitchens, attached garages, and lawns wide enough to require emotional commitment. This time, I told him I wanted to see where people actually walked. We stayed downtown in a hotel with no family members and one bed containing only the people who had paid for it. Daniel showed me the restaurant group's office on Friday afternoon. It occupied a renovated brick warehouse and smelled faintly of sawdust and coffee. He introduced me to the designers without calling me his fiancé until the third person, which I noticed because the earlier version of me would have been hurt. This version understood he was introducing Claire before assigning her a relationship. On Saturday, we drove through 3 neighborhoods. I hated one immediately. "Too many identical porches," I said. "You said you liked porches. I like people having them by choice. Should I ask each homeowner? You can tell. I cannot. Then you aren't ready to buy a house." We looked at a rental near a greenway smaller than the townhouse and closer to Daniel's office than mine would likely be. The kitchen had cheap cabinets and no pantry. Daniel looked at me carefully. "What do you think?" "I think you hate it." I asked what you think. "I like the windows. The kitchen is a crime. You could fix it. It's a rental. You say that like you've never improved something you didn't own." He looked around again. "The light is good." "It is. We didn't sign anything. I didn't apply for jobs or promise a start date." I wrote down the names of 2 packaging companies and 1 marketing agency. At lunch, I told Daniel I wanted to keep my job while I looked, even if that meant living apart temporarily. "I don't love that," he said. "Neither do I." "But? And I don't want to arrive unemployed and pretend I'm grateful for the privilege?" He nodded. "Okay. You don't have to agree immediately." "I'm not. I'm considering. How can I tell?" My face is very conversational. I kicked him beneath the table. That evening, we walked along the greenway behind the rental. The air smelled like wet leaves. People passed us with bicycles and leashed dogs. Nobody knew me as Frank's reliable daughter or Marissa's older sister. Nobody knew Daniel had briefly moved out or that our invitations were sitting unprinted in a paper studio in Columbus. I could live here, I said. Daniel squeezed my hand. Are you telling me or yourself? Both. Is that a yes? It's a yes to moving. It isn't a yes to that kitchen. Thank God. We laughed, and the decision settled between us without either of us claiming victory. Back at the hotel, Daniel sat on the edge of the bed to take off his shoes. The image hit me before I could stop it. A man's back, white undershirt, 2 wine glasses. Daniel saw my face. What? Nothing. He looked at the bed, then at me. Oh, I'm fine. Do you want a different room? No. Different hotel? No. He stood. I sat where he had been and ran my palm over the white comforter. I don't want her photograph following us into every hotel room. It won't. You don't know that. No. But this one belongs to us. He sat beside me. After a minute, I said, I still want to marry you. Daniel's hand closed around mine. I still want to marry you too. Not because we're moving, no, not to prove anything. No, not at the venue. He turned toward me. I don't want the ballroom, I said. I don't want 200 people watching us perform recovery. I don't want a bridal party where everyone has to pretend my sister's absence is a scheduling problem. What do you want? The courthouse. His eyebrows rose. Then dinner at Bellini's, I continued, where we had our first date. You sent your pasta back. It had mushrooms. You ordered wild mushroom ravioli. I was nervous. You ate my chicken. You offered. You were frightening. You proposed anyway. Eventually. He smiled, but his eyes had gone bright. Courthouse, he said. Bellini's. How many people? Small. That's not a number. Denise. Marco. Your parents, if they can come up from Florida. They'll come. My parents. He waited. Not Marissa, I said. Are you sure? No. That's allowed. I looked down at our joined hands. I can't have her there. Not yet. Then she isn't there. The simplicity hurt. We chose a Friday 6 weeks away. Bellini's had a private room available because someone had canceled an office dinner. The courthouse had an afternoon opening. None of it felt lucky or destined. It felt available. And we chose it. Daniel's parents booked flights before we finished telling them the date. His mother cried and demanded to know whether courthouse rules allowed her to bring flowers. His father asked if he needed a tie, then argued when Daniel said no. Denise hugged me in the supply room at work. I knew it, she said into my hair. You did not. I knew something. Statistically, that's easy. Marco responded to Daniel's invitation by asking whether he could wear the suit from his second wedding. Wasn't he divorced in that suit? I asked. He says the suit did nothing wrong. We canceled the ballroom. We lost part of the deposit. Amy at Belle Pine helped us turn the invitation design into small dinner cards without changing the watercolor branch. The practical choices felt clean. Telling my family did not. I asked Mom and Dad if I could come over on Sunday. Mom replied that we were always welcome in their home, a sentence she only used when she wanted me to know I had behaved like a stranger. Daniel offered to come. I need to do it alone, I said. Okay. You don't think that's me excluding you? No. How can you tell? Because you said need, not should. Mom made pot roast. I knew I was in trouble the moment I smelled it. Pot roast was not a meal in our family. It was a peace treaty with potatoes. Marissa was not there. Dad carved the meat while Mom asked about work, Raleigh, and whether Daniel's parents were enjoying Florida. We ate at the table where I had repaired the brass button on Marissa's red coat. After dessert, I told them, we're getting married in 6 weeks. Mom's face opened with happiness before she could stop it. You set another date? Yes. Where? The courthouse. Then dinner at Bellini's. The courthouse, she repeated. Dad smiled. Cheaper. Frank. What? It is. Mom folded her napkin. Why didn't you tell us you were planning this? I'm telling you now. 6 weeks is not much notice. I know. What about your dress? I'm wearing the one I already bought. It's too formal for a courthouse. I don't think they arrest you for that. Dad laughed. Mom did not. How many people? She asked. 14. Her expression changed. That's all? That's what we want. Who's included? I looked at Dad, then Mom. You both are. Mom waited. Marissa isn't. Dad set down his fork. Mom's face went still. I see. I wanted to tell you in person. How thoughtful. Evelyn, Dad said. No, Frank. She came here to ask us to participate in humiliating our other daughter. I'm asking you to come to my wedding. Without your sister. Yes. She apologized. She admitted what she did. That is an apology. It isn't the same as trust. Mom pushed back her chair. She is your only sister. Yes. You will regret excluding her from one of the most important days of your life. Maybe. You'll look at the pictures and see who's missing. I already know who will be missing. Dad rubbed his hand over his mouth. Could she come to dinner but not the courthouse? No. Sit at another table? There's one table. Mom stood. This is punishment. It's a boundary. Oh, please. A boundary is what people call punishment when they want to feel healthy. I almost smiled. It was such a perfect mom sentence, sharp, funny, and wrong in a way that could sound right for years. You can attend, I said, but I need you to agree that you will not spend the day lobbying for Marissa, apologizing for her, or telling me I'm cruel. You want us to pretend she doesn't exist. No, I want one dinner where her feelings are not placed in my chair. Dad looked down. Mom folded her arms. If you make us choose between our daughters, we won't choose. You already have. That is unfair. It's also not what I'm asking. I'm inviting you. You can say yes or no. Dad looked at Mom. She answered for both of them. We will not come without Marissa. I nodded. Mom's certainty faltered. She had expected negotiation, tears, perhaps a revised seating chart. I picked up my purse. Dad followed me to the door. Give us time. You have 6 weeks. Your mother's upset. I know. You could reconsider. So could you. I kissed his cheek and walked outside. Behind me, the door stayed open until I reached my car. I did not turn around. I made it halfway down their street before pulling over. Daniel answered on the first ring. They said no, I told him. There was no pause for him to ask what I meant. I'm sorry. Mom said they won't come without Marissa. Do you want me to come get you? I drove here. I know. Then why would you come get me? So you don't have to drive home alone. I looked through the windshield at the row of houses. Blue television light flickered behind curtains. A man in sweatpants wheeled a trash bin to the curb and stopped to inspect something on the lid. I'm not falling apart, I said. I didn't say you were. I can drive. Okay. That answer made me want him there more. I rested my forehead against the steering wheel. Can you just stay on the phone? Yes. He did. He talked about nothing while I drove. Marco had broken the handle off the espresso machine. The Raleigh office wanted him to revise a kitchen because an executive had discovered wood-fired pizza during a vacation and now considered himself an expert. The townhouse roof looked fine, but we should clean the gutters before moving. He did not ask whether I wanted to turn around. The next morning, Mom sent a photograph of the 4 of us from Marissa's college graduation. Dad wore sunglasses. Mom's hair was shorter. Marissa stood between us in her cap and gown, and I had one arm around her waist. No message accompanied it. I deleted the photograph, then recovered it from the trash an hour later. Dad called at lunch. Your mother may have reacted strongly. She said no. She was emotional. So was I. I'm not saying she was right. Are you coming? He sighed. I don't know how that would work. You put on a suit. You go to the courthouse. You watch me get married. Without your mother? She's invited. You know she won't come. That's her choice. Dad was quiet. Could Marissa wait at the restaurant bar? He asked. No, she wouldn't be at the dinner. She would be waiting at the dinner. What if she came afterward? Just for cake? No. It's cake, Claire. It isn't about cake. What is it about? Whether no means no even after everyone gets uncomfortable, he exhaled. You've always been stubborn. You used to call it dependable. That too. I need an answer by next Friday. Bellini's needs the final count. Your mother doesn't respond well to deadlines. That isn't my problem. The sentence felt brutal. It also felt clean. Marissa called that evening. I nearly let it go to voicemail, then answered. Mom told me, she said. I assumed. She wants me to talk you out of it. Are you going to? No. I sat down on the stairs. Marissa continued. I told them to go. What? I told them I understand why I'm not invited and they should go without me. I closed my eyes. What did Mom say? That I was being manipulated. By me? By guilt. Apparently guilt is a person now. Despite everything, I smiled. Dad asked if I wanted to sit in the restaurant bar. He asked me too. I told him that was insane. Thank you. Don't thank me. It feels awful. I know. No, I mean, them going without me. I thought I could handle it, but then I pictured Mom helping you with your dress and Dad making that face when he tries not to cry. He won't be making it. They'll change their minds. Her confidence sounded rehearsed. What if they don't? They will. Marissa. She was silent. Then she said, I'm sorry. For what part? All of it. I looked at the empty hook by the door, now holding Daniel's rain jacket. I believe you're trying, I said. That's not forgiveness. No. Okay. She stayed on the line. Are you wearing the dress? She asked. Yes. The one with the buttons? Yes. There are 32. I counted at the fitting. You complained through the entire fitting. The saleswoman called the color pearl mist. It's white. It's ivory. It's white with a marketing department. I laughed before I could stop myself. The silence afterward was painful but not hostile. I won't contact you on the wedding day, she said. I don't want you thinking I'm trying to make it about me. You can text. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. She hung up first. The final count deadline arrived without an answer from my parents. I removed 2 seats. Dad called the following Sunday and asked if he could stop by. He arrived alone carrying a toolbox. What's that for? I asked. Your downstairs bathroom faucet drips. How do you know? It dripped at Christmas. You've been thinking about my faucet for 4 months. I think about a lot of things. Daniel was upstairs packing books. We had found a 6-month rental in Raleigh with good windows, bad cabinets, and a landlord willing to let us install shelves if Daniel promised not to redesign the building. Dad knelt beneath the bathroom sink and opened the toolbox. I leaned against the doorframe. Is Mom coming? No. To the wedding. He adjusted a wrench around a fitting. She's still upset. That isn't an answer. You know the answer. I watched his shoulders move beneath his flannel shirt. Is this your answer too? He stopped turning the wrench. Your mother and I just renewed our vows. That has nothing to do with my wedding. It has something to do with me showing up somewhere she believes we shouldn't be. You believe you shouldn't be there? He sat back on his heels. I believe your sister did something terrible. And I believe families have to find a way through terrible things. I am finding a way. It just doesn't put everyone at the same table immediately. She apologized. You've apologized to Mom hundreds of times. Does that mean she trusts you to load the dishwasher? That woman trusts no one to load a dishwasher. I smiled despite myself. Dad looked down at the wrench. I don't want to miss it. Then come. I don't want to hurt your mother. What about hurting me? His face folded slightly. I know. Do you? I'm here, aren't I? You're fixing a faucet. It needed fixing. I could have called a plumber. But you didn't. Dad. He set the wrench on the tile. After 40 years, you don't walk into a room your wife refuses to enter. I understood him. That was the worst part. He had built an identity around staying beside Mom the way I had built one around being useful. His loyalty could be tender, stubborn, and cowardly at the same time. I'm not asking you to leave her, I said. I'm asking you to attend your daughter's wedding. She sees those as connected. Do you? He looked toward the sink. I had my answer. Dad replaced the worn washer, wiped the cabinet floor, and packed his tools. The faucet stopped dripping. At the door, he hugged me. "You look good in ivory," he said. "You haven't seen the dress. I saw the pictures. Mom showed you?" She left them open on the tablet. He held me tighter. "I'm proud of you. Come tell me Friday." He let go. "I love you, Claire. I love you too." Love, I was learning, could be true and still fail to show up. Daniel found me sitting on the closed toilet lid after Dad left. He leaned against the bathroom door. "Faucet fixed?" "Yes." "Everything else?" "No." He sat on the edge of the tub. "I thought he might come," I said. "He still might." "I don't want to hope. That's not something you can turn off. I can try." He reached for my hand. "I keep thinking about the hotel," I said, "not the picture." Dad standing in the lobby with the ceremony folder. He hugged me and said she shouldn't have done it. He knew. Yes, he always knows. Then he does the easier thing. Daniel rubbed his thumb across my knuckles. Am I doing the easier thing by not inviting her? No. How do you know? Because the easier thing would make everybody else happy. That doesn't mean it's right. No. But you're not pretending it doesn't cost you. We sat in the bathroom until my legs went numb. The week of the wedding filled with ordinary problems. Bellini's called because the private room's sound system had stopped working. We had no speeches requiring amplification, so I told them not to fix it for us. Daniel's mother, Elena, arrived from Florida with a carry-on containing 3 pairs of shoes and an artificial bouquet she had made just in case Ohio failed to produce flowers. "It has stores, Mom," Daniel told her, "not good ones." His father, Jorge, wore shorts despite the cold and asked whether the courthouse would validate parking. They were not a perfect family. Elena rearranged my kitchen within 6 hours and questioned why Daniel had not invited 2 cousins he disliked. Jorge disappeared during an argument by claiming he needed windshield fluid. Their love was loud, intrusive, and occasionally exhausting. They also accepted no the second time we said it. On Thursday night, Elena found me alone in the kitchen checking my phone. "You want your mother to call," she said. "I want her to come. Call her. I already invited her. Mothers need pushing. Not this time." Elena considered that, then nodded. "Okay." No lecture. No wounded sigh. She opened the refrigerator. "Why do you have 6 kinds of mustard?" "Daniel." "That's my fault. His grandfather put mustard on watermelon. I wish I didn't know that." She squeezed my shoulder and took out the butter. Mom did not call. On Friday morning, Denise arrived at 7 with bagels, safety pins, and a bottle of champagne. "The champagne is for afterward," she said. "It's 7 in the morning." "Correct. After 7. She helped me into the dress upstairs while Elena argued with a florist on speakerphone downstairs. The 32 buttons took 12 minutes. "Your sister was right," Denise said. "This is too many buttons." I met her eyes in the mirror. She froze. "Sorry?" "No. She was right about the buttons." My phone lay on the dresser. At 10, Marissa texted. I told them again. "They're home. I'm not with them. I'm sorry, Clary." This time, the name didn't hurt. I wrote, "Thank you for telling me." Nothing came from Mom or Dad. Daniel waited at the bottom of the stairs in a dark blue suit. When he saw me, his mouth opened, then closed. Elena burst into tears. Jorge said, "That dress is not courthouse casual." "No one asked you," Elena told him. Daniel took both my hands. "You look incredible. You look terrified. I'm wearing a tie my father chose. It has tiny martinis on it," Jorge said proudly. At the courthouse, Marco and Denise signed as witnesses. Bellini's had sent a small arrangement of white roses for me to carry. 14 people became 12, and no one mentioned the difference. The clerk led us into a bright room with rows of wooden chairs and windows facing the city. I looked at the door each time footsteps passed in the hallway. Daniel noticed but did not squeeze my hand or tell me to stop. At 2 minutes past 3, the clerk glanced at the clock. "Are we waiting for anyone else?" My parents' chairs were not there. We had never added them back. Still, I looked once more at the open door. Then I turned to Daniel. "No," I said, "we're ready." The clerk closed the door. It made an ordinary sound, a soft wooden click, no louder than a cabinet shutting. My parents were not going to burst through it. The clerk introduced herself as Susan and explained that she had been performing civil ceremonies for 17 years. She wore purple glasses and had a small gold pin shaped like the state of Ohio. Behind her, the city showed through tall windows, office buildings, traffic lights, people crossing the street with no idea my entire life had narrowed to the man holding my hands. Daniel's tie really did have tiny martinis on it. "You could still take that off," I whispered. "My father would be devastated. Your father is trying to photograph us with his phone upside down." Jorge turned the phone around. I knew that. Susan smiled. "Ready?" Daniel and I looked at each other. "Yes," he said. The ceremony was short. No processional, no music, no slideshow requiring an extension cord. Susan spoke about partnership and choice. I had heard similar words at weddings before, but choice no longer sounded like a single answer given once. It sounded like something smaller and more exhausting. 1,000 answers, 1,000 opportunities to tell the truth before silence made the decision for you. Daniel had written vows on a folded index card. When he took it from his pocket, a restaurant receipt fell to the floor. "Very romantic," I whispered. "It has notes on the back." Marco retrieved it and handed it to him. Daniel unfolded the card. "Claire, you make lists for everything." Everyone laughed softly. "You make lists for trips, dinners, groceries, and conversations you're afraid you'll forget how to have. I love that you think preparation can protect the people you care about. Sometimes it can. Sometimes it just means we arrive at a disaster with extra tape." I felt my mouth tremble. "I promise to ask what you want instead of assuming your yes means you have no doubts. I promise to tell you when I'm scared, even if it makes me look insecure. I promise not to confuse quiet with peace. And when you say something is fine, I promise to ask once if it actually is." "Once?" I said. "I have boundaries too." That got a real laugh. Then his voice broke. "I promise to keep choosing a life where you are not useful to me before you are loved by me." The room blurred. When it was my turn, I did not use the card tucked beneath my bouquet. I kept my hands in his and said what was true. I spent a long time believing love meant knowing what everybody needed before they asked. Then I got angry when no one knew what I needed. Daniel's eyes shone. "I promise to tell you before I explode. I promise not to agree to houses I hate. Thank you. I promise to be difficult. I specifically requested that. And I promise not to make your steadiness pay for everyone else's chaos. I choose you when it's easy, when it's inconvenient, and when the kitchen is terrible." "The kitchen is really terrible," he told Susan. She nodded solemnly. "I'm glad you're entering this marriage informed." We exchanged rings. When Susan pronounced us married, Daniel kissed me, while Elena sobbed openly, and Denise said, "Finally," loud enough for everyone to hear. For 1 second after the kiss, I looked toward the closed door. Then Daniel touched his forehead to mine. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes." He waited. "I'm sad they're not here," I said, "and I'm okay." He kissed me again. At Bellini's, the private room held one long table beneath strings of warm lights. The restaurant had framed Italian travel posters on the walls and the same dark wooden chairs from our first date. A card with each guest's name rested above a folded napkin. There were 12 cards. No empty places. The sound system was still broken, so Jorge placed his phone inside an empty water glass to amplify music. Elena objected to the song, the volume, and his general technique. "You cannot put Barry White in a glass," she told him. "Listen, it works. It sounds like he is trapped in a well." Marco wore the suit from his second wedding. It was gray, slightly shiny, and too tight across his shoulders. The suit did nothing wrong, he reminded us. Denise raised her champagne and gave the first toast. The morning Claire told me what happened, I asked whether she wanted my opinion or my company. She chose company, which was lucky, because my opinion involved several felonies. I laughed into my napkin. She did not need somebody to tell her who was wrong. She needed a place where she didn't have to say she was fine. Daniel, I have watched her say she's fine at work for 8 years. Don't believe her. I don't, he said. Good. Claire, don't make him guess forever. I won't. That's all I've got. The champagne is warm. She sat down to applause. Dinner arrived. Daniel had arranged for the kitchen to serve me chicken instead of wild mushroom ravioli, and the server delivered it with a smile that suggested he knew the story. You told them, I said. I believe in preserving history. You ate half my chicken that night. You were too nervous to finish it. I was hungry later. You called me from the car and said you had a wonderful time. I did. You also stopped for fries. I contain multitudes. Daniel slipped his hand beneath the table and held mine. My phone stayed in my purse through dinner. I didn't check it during the cake, the toasts, or the improvised dance Jorge organized by placing his phone in a larger glass. When everyone had gone and Daniel and I were alone in the private room, I finally looked. Dad had called at 3:17, 12 minutes after the ceremony began. He had not left a message. At 4:12, he texted, "Hope everything went well. We were thinking of you." Mom's message came at 6. Your father says you're probably at dinner. We won't disturb you. Neither said congratulations. Marissa had kept her promise not to contact me again. Daniel watched my face. They reached out, I said. Do you want to call? No. He nodded. I put the phone away. We spent the night at a hotel in downtown Columbus. When Daniel sat on the edge of the bed to remove his shoes, I saw only my husband wearing ridiculous socks covered in tiny tacos. He noticed me smiling. What? Nothing. You're looking at my socks. They're formal. Marco gave them to me. That explains nothing. He pulled me down beside him. The next morning, Dad sent a photograph he had taken from his television. Denise had posted one of the courthouse pictures, and someone had shown him how to enlarge it on the screen. The result was crooked and covered by a pause icon. You looked beautiful, he wrote. I replied, thank you. Mom called that afternoon. I answered because I wanted to, not because she called twice. How was it? She asked. Beautiful. I'm glad. Her voice was tight. We saw photographs. Dad told me. Your dress did look formal. I know. Marissa said you told her she could text. Yes. That was generous. It wasn't generosity. Mom went quiet. I waited for her to say they had wanted to come. I waited for her to explain Dad's call at 3:17 or tell me she'd put on the blue dress and changed her mind. Instead, she asked, when are you leaving for Raleigh? 3 weeks. So soon. We've been planning it. I thought the wedding might change things. What things? The timeline. Why? I don't know, Claire. She did know. She had expected one boundary to soften the others. She had expected marriage to settle me back into usefulness once the ceremony was over. We're still moving, I said. Your father wants to help. We hired movers. He'll be hurt. He can help us pack the kitchen if he wants. And me? You can come too. Will Marissa be there? No. Mom exhaled. I don't understand why everything has to be separate now. Because together always meant I had to make room for whatever she needed. She's your sister. I know, she is trying. I know that too. Then what more do you want? Time. You're moving 8 hours away. Time can happen there. Mom did not like that answer, but she did not argue. Before we hung up, she said, I'm sorry we missed it, not I'm sorry we chose not to come. It was the closest she could get. I'm sorry too, I said. Dad and Mom came to pack the kitchen. Mom wrapped plates too carefully and complained that movers never respected labels. Dad found 3 jars of expired mustard and called Daniel into the room as if discovering evidence of a crime. They stayed 4 hours. No one mentioned the wedding. When they left, Mom hugged me in the driveway. She held on after I started to release her. You'll call when you get there? Yes. You always say yes. This time, the sentence held no accusation, only fear. I'll call when we're settled, I said. She nodded. Marissa did not come to the townhouse before we moved. She mailed a card with no gift inside. I am sorry I made your happiness feel like abandonment. I'm working on understanding the difference. I put the card in the box with our wedding photographs. Raleigh smelled like hot pavement and wet grass when we arrived. The rental's windows were as good as I remembered. The kitchen was worse. One cabinet door fell off while Daniel was unpacking plates. I told you, he said. You wanted honesty. I didn't want vindication by hardware. We lived among boxes for 2 weeks. I worked remotely from the dining table while looking for something local. Daniel started at the restaurant group and came home every evening with opinions about ventilation. We argued about shelves, money, and whether the bedroom needed curtains before the living room needed lamps. We said what we wanted. Sometimes we said it badly. Neither of us left. My parents did not visit that summer. Dad called every Sunday until I told him weekly calls made me dread Sundays. After that, he called unpredictably, usually with weather information or questions he could answer himself. Sometimes I answered. Sometimes I called back the next day. Mom learned to text before asking for help. Do you have time to look at something? Sometimes I said no. The first few times, she responded with silence. Then she began saying, okay. Marissa and I did not speak for nearly 3 months. When I returned to Columbus for a work meeting, she asked if I would have coffee. We met at a cafe halfway between my old office and her real estate agency. She arrived early wearing a navy coat. I noticed the color and hated that I noticed. Her hair was shorter. She had stopped wearing the ring Ryan gave her, though I didn't ask whether that meant they had finally ended things. She stood when I approached, but did not try to hug me. You look good, she said. So do you. Raleigh, hot. I hear they have air conditioning now. Recent development. We ordered coffee. For the first 10 minutes, we talked about Dad's low-sodium rebellion and Mom's conviction that every online password had been personally designed to humiliate her. Then Marissa folded her hands around her cup. I started seeing someone, she said. My stomach tightened. A therapist, she added. Not a man. I'm taking a break from those. That's probably wise. She says I confuse people soothing me with people loving me. I said nothing. She also says Mom and Dad taught me that if I became upset enough, the room would rearrange itself. That sounds accurate. She's annoyingly accurate. Those are the worst people. Marissa smiled, then her face grew serious. I used to think you were lucky, she said. Everybody trusted you. You always knew what to do. I didn't. I know that now. Because you had to make insurance calls? Those calls are brutal. I laughed. She looked down at her cup. I hated you for leaving me with them, she said. Then I realized you had been between us for years. Every time Mom got angry with me, she called you. Every time Dad worried, he asked you to handle me. I thought you were controlling everything. I thought I was helping. You were. You were also making it possible for none of us to change. There was no accusation in her voice. I'm sorry, she continued. Not because Daniel stayed, not because you moved, not because Mom and Dad are still mad. I'm sorry because I wanted your forgiveness more than I cared what forgiving me would cost you. My eyes burned. Thank you, I said. I don't expect anything. That's new. I know. We finished our coffee. Before we parted, Marissa asked if she could hug me. I said yes. Her perfume was the same, warm and expensive. The hug was careful, without the old assumption that she could hold on until I became responsible for whatever she felt. Goodbye, Claire, she said, not Clary. I watched her walk away in the navy coat. That evening, back in Raleigh, Daniel and I sat at our kitchen table discussing whether the bad cabinets could survive another year. Rain tapped against the windows. His sketches covered half the table, and my laptop occupied the other half. My phone rang. Mom. My hand moved toward it automatically, then stopped. Daniel continued telling me why replacing only the lower cabinets was structurally offensive. I looked at the screen until Mom's name disappeared. "What?" Daniel asked. "You were saying?" "That cabinets should not be treated as separate political territories. Strong position, it's basic design." My phone lit with a voicemail notification. I turned it face down. "Finish," I said, and he did.